Yeah, I don't even know. I don't remember what they said to get the cops in my house, but I just remember like they were like, he doesn't have a business license. He's not legitimate. Let's fucking ruin his life. I'm like, holy shit. So that was the worst thing that ever happened. But with drifting, you know, you can build the car whatever color, all this, you know, it's open canvas, and then there's a subjective aspect to it that's just like chaos and fun, just like, you know, skateboarding and BMX. Yeah, this isn't meant to hurt anybody's feelings, but it is one of the biggest scams in motorsports right now.
Welcome back to the #1 drift podcast on YouTube, presented by Enjuku Racing. It's because this is the first episode of 2024, and that's actually pretty insane for me to say.
Yeah.
That's something I've been dreaming of for fucking 7 years now, doing content. So this is insane. Thanks to you guys. Thanks to Enjuku. But we'll get more into that later on, and some other stuff too. But we got some major plans for the year, so make sure you are subscribed. Go ahead and look below the video, and if that button is still red, go ahead and click it, and drop a comment. Tell me what you want to see for the year. If you want to see anything, at track, stuff like that. And then merch is coming back soon. I don't think I can say much about that yet. I don't really know. Anyways,
It's good to build the hype.
yeah, but it's coming soon. Keep an eye out for that in the next couple weeks. Thanks to Nate over there at 144. We're gonna be doing it through him. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got for the intro, actually. So if you want to kind of give a rundown on who you are.
Yeah. My name's Chase McMaster. I own Chase Bays and McMaster Properties. Been doing this for, I've owned Chase Bays since 2007. Started it in 2007. Been doing it ever since. So it's been a long, lonely road.
Hell yeah. It's been 2007, dude.
Yeah.
What did the average 240 cost back then? Let's start off there.
Dude, that is a great question. So I bought mine.
Wait, where were you back then? Where did you live?
So I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. And in 2000, I've been self-employed since 2005. So I got kicked out of high school and then started doing like engine swaps and stuff for locals in my mom's garage. Yeah.
Why'd you get kicked out?
Oh my gosh. That's a whole other podcast. Well, I mean, generally the consensus, and I know you agree, it's like you can't put young men in a seat and expect them to be okay with that all day. Yeah, and especially if you're more of a creative or a doer. I mean, that's basically torture. So I mean, it's just being a critical thinker from a young age too. I mean, you push back on the teachers, and then they call it defiance, and then
Oh God.
Yeah, and it's
we could definitely go all night about that.
Slight problem with authority, and so yeah, I got kicked out, and then just first job's Taco Bell, got fired. Second job was a car wash, got fired. And so I started just doing engine swaps and stuff like VTEC
Sounds
wiring and VTEC B16A swaps and stuff like that.
No shit. Okay.
Yeah. And but yeah, so I moved to California in 2007. And that's kind of when I called it Chase Bays, and I was doing, 2007 to 2009, I lived in Los Angeles.
Holy shit. So Chase Bays wasn't even like a parts company.
No. So
jump.
Exactly. Yeah. So at first it was a service, right? So I posted on Honda Tech. I did what, it's called a wire tech. So hid the wiring, hid the fuse box. It was my B16 CRX, and then just posted it online, and it was completely unheard of. And I got the inspiration from like a hot rod show, because I go to a hot rod show and they had super clean bays, which they were carbureted, were fuel injected. So it was a little harder for us to do it, but I was like, I got to do that. So I did it, posted it online. People are like, where do I pay you to
That's
make
hot.
This? Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yep. So I said, get 10 people from your town, to get together, and it's $450 each. And, so the first, so it was a service, and the first one was Phoenix, Arizona. So 10 guys from AZHT, which is an old forum. And by the way, it was all Honda Tech that got me there. Yeah. But yeah, it was Phoenix, Arizona was the first place, and 10 guys went there. And, I initially, my biggest flaw was prediction of time. I'm like, it'll only take 7 or 8 hours. Yeah. So landed day one, did the first wire tuck, and it took like 14, 15 hours. Oh. And I did it one per day. So I was there for 10 days. And so, dude, I was working. I mean, I think I was 17 or 18 years old, hardest I've ever worked in my life.
Doing all
which
the
was
grunt
pretty,
work.
not that long of a life at that point, only being 17.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, not many 17-year-olds, at least in the last 50 or 60 years, have worked, 14, 15-hour days. So yeah, did that.
Yeah.
And then, because they're always like, by that time they had like hacked headlight wiring, so I was like repairing stuff and all that.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, but I got to day 10, and then 10 more people wanted it, so I extended my trip, and I just worked my ass off for 20 days. Came back with a boatload of cash and started building my K Series CRX.
Damn.
But yeah, I'm ping ponging around, but yeah,
you're good.
I did that for a while.
That's
like I went to Arizona, North Carolina, Los Angeles, all kinds of places to do this, and then I got so sick of working on people's cars.
Yeah.
And it was in their conditions, right? So Phoenix, Arizona, it was the middle of summer, and half of them didn't have garages. They just put up tents. Dude, it was hot as hell, like 110 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
Just,
my whole dad's side is from Arizona.
Okay.
So, like, I love it out there.
Right.
Truthfully. I hate cold weather.
Right.
I'm a little bitch in the cold. I can't, dude.
Yeah.
But heat, I can deal with that.
Yeah.
Especially if it's dry.
Really? Okay. Well, I mean, I dealt with it. It's just, yeah, it wasn't pleasant. But, dude, it made me just... It was good. All those things happened because I said I have to make this a product,
Yeah.
And started doing brake lines and clutch lines. So like brake line relocation kits, like Integra ABS deletes, 240 ABS deletes, clutch lines for swaps or just to clean it up.
Was this just by like project? Like if someone called you and asked you, you would build it, or were you like already starting to keep stock?
Yeah,
at that point.
Well, by the time 2007 had rolled around, I had a website. It was chasebaysonline.com, and then that's when I said, I'm not working on cars anymore. I'm not cut out for this. And so I put it on a WordPress website, and it was just brake line. I called them brake line relocations, clutch lines, fuel line kits, and so it was either same thing today. It's kind of just
simplified version,
compensating for a swap, etc. And then as we went, so it kind of started as more utilitarian and kind of more show car type stuff. It's just cleaning it up or upgrading rusty something, deleting ABS, kind of utilitarian. But the result was always a super clean engine bay. So in Hondas, it was extremely popular to have. It's like we were a part of the pioneers of making the clean Honda engine bays, and I was the first person that made a company out of it. And
That's
then
crazy.
Yep. And then I built all that money I was making. We built one of the first K Series CRXs.
Yeah.
I got a 800-mile insurance fraud 2006 K20Z, and I put it in the CRX. It was such a
oh my god.
Yeah. So I was 18 years old, just ground up CRX build, like painted inside and out. And
Jesus. So like legit tax fraud?
Oh yeah. No,
Seriously?
I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I bought it from somebody. No, I'm not going to admit that on live. But I mean, I didn't commit tax fraud, at least not till later. So I had a friend who just said, "Hey, I got this." They didn't say it was tax fraud, but it was obvious. It was tax fraud, So they just bought it.
Too flashy.
Yeah, I don't know, or insurance fraud. I guess it would be not tax fraud. Insurance fraud.
I mean, technically, you could do either one, but
maybe they did both.
We don't condone.
Yeah. Disavow it.
Yeah.
So built CRX, and that's when I started getting into track stuff. So I went to Buttonwillow, did a track day, loved it. The car made 240 horsepower, it weighed 1,800 pounds, didn't have an LSD in that US trans, so it was chaos.
Yeah.
But pretty much from the time I got the K Series CRX done, and it got on the cover of Honda Tuning, which was a super huge magazine at the time. It was in Super Street. And but I immediately, and I love Hondas, and I still have them, still build them.
I wish I got into them more.
Yeah, dude, a lot of the greats did. I mean, so many drifters now started out in Hondas. I mean, like Forrest Wang, we've worked with him for years, and he back in Hawaii, I mean, he had the cleanest turbo DC2. So, a lot of people did, but it's all like they either came from Hondas or 240s or, skating BMX.
All the same.
I'm both. Yeah. I was a sponsored skateboarder at 12, 13. Anyways. So the thing about the CRX was that as soon as I, really got to the track, I said, man, this car needs to be a rear-wheel drive. Because my friend had a SR 240, and then when he would like haul ass, it would get, I don't know what to call it, like fishtailing. Yeah. Squirrely, they call it. Yeah. And I said, this is fucking awesome. You know?
I gotta do that.
Yeah. I'm like, this is what's supposed to happen. Because my K-Series.
That was kind of like your gateway into drifting?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I guess?
Yep.
Okay.
And then, you know, behind the scenes, all this is kind of like, again, the products were sort of not show car, but sort of show car utilitarian.
Yeah.
And then it started going into motorsports, you know?
Gotcha.
Because once I hit the track, it was like power steering was boiling over and blowing everywhere. The brakes weren't working so good. You know, fuel lines were leaking because they were, you know what I mean? So it's like you're exposing all the issues that we solve now.
Yeah.
Yep. And so we also did engine harnesses back then. So
Did y'all focus more on road race cars back then, or was it
a little bit?
Drifting?
It's like my reality is yes, but it's like there was a public perception for years that I had to get past, and that was like, oh, they just do show car stuff. They just do show car stuff. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, my reality was, yes, I was super into road racing for a minute there. And then, yeah, it was, you know, we're talking 2 and 3 years and trying to condense it. But yeah, at the track, I didn't like I love front wheel drive and we still like tracking it. So I'm not hating on them at all, but I just personally was like, I got to have a rear wheel drive car. It's like, I want this power.
That's something I wish I would have learned sooner.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was always a front wheel drive sedan
type
of guy. I had one of the favorite cars I ever had was a Jetta GLI. It was an 03 with the VR6 in it.
Okay.
And shit. I loved that car.
Yeah.
But the day I got a rear wheel drive car, I was like, yo, this is way better.
Yeah.
It just feels like it drives better.
It's controllable. And you know, the front wheel drive, like it would rip, but it would, even with the traction bars and like all sphericals up there, it would like wheel hop and it would torque steer and all that. And you can make it work. I mean, there's front wheel drive cars that run as fast as, you know, like time attack ones that are hanging. But yeah, I wanted to drift basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause he would rip. It was like 300 horsepower. My friend would, you know, he'd 300 horsepower SR and we'd be like going up a hill and it would just be doing this. I'm like, dude, I got to do this. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I had parted out the CRX. My lung spontaneously collapsed.
Oh shit.
Yeah. It's like tall and skinny people are more prone to it. So 2009, my lung collapsed. I had a roommate at the time that stole all kinds of shit from me. Like I had status Kevlar seats, stole those. I had SSR wheels that I was like parting out from my CRX that he stole, and then like locked me out of the place. And this was
yo, what?
I don't know, man, dude. Well, it's just so long of a story, but yeah. So that was, and like all my stuff was inside. So I was homeless for a little bit. I like finally, you know, got it to where I could get all my stuff, you know what I mean? And so and the lung collapse after this, but, so yeah, I was literally living in my car and I had all the chase based stuff in the trunk and would like package stuff and then take it to USPS. So I think that was like about a month I was living in my car, like in Los Angeles, and then stayed with a friend, lung collapsed. And then they didn't cover it under insurance because I was still on my parents' insurance or my mom's insurance at the time. Okay. And I know there's a lot of.
I've got my whole opinion on insurance and shit like that, dude. We could go for hours on that as well.
Yeah, well, what's great about it is that you're forced to pay it pretty much, and they're not forced to help you at all. That's car and health insurance. Really cool.
In my opinion,
good gig for them.
As simple as it gets is, why would you pay for health insurance when they're still going to charge you an arm and a leg? The hospital more than likely has a payment plan or some type of pricing for non-insurance having people, which is way lower, and then you could just get the loan. Focus on your credit more than insurance.
Dude, my business is well established and doing good. I don't have health insurance.
Yeah,
because it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Because you can even negotiate. They're like, oh, we don't take insurance. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not one of those people. Like I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
What's your cash price for this? And sometimes it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Because they go, oh.
It's normally way cheaper.
Yeah. Because we just, my wife and I had a baby, 14 months ago. And I was like, what's the cash price for start to finish, delivered and sealed and everything. and they all, and I didn't buy their add-ons. It's
Money
just like,
talks.
dude, it's just, hospitals is like being at a dealership. They're like, all right, we're going to add this shot, and we're going to add this and this vaccine and this and this and this. And so like your total price is going to be $800,000. You're like, well, what if I don't get all of that? What if you just deliver the baby and then we take them home? And they're like, oh.
I never really thought about that. Yeah.
I guess it's like $10,000 like out the door. And you're like,
sold.
right,
cool. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's literally, it's like a dealership. But I'm distracted now. I don't know what we're talking about.
Damn, I forgot too.
Oh yeah, my life story, my sad life story.
So you had a lung collapse.
Oh yeah.
How did your lung even collapse? What was the?
It's just something that will create it. So it's like, dude, you could even just like be lifting something and strain a little bit, and it'll pop it. But there's if you're tall and skinny. Or just like, the 3 body types, there's like endomorph, metamorph, and all that. There's, even like slimmer, like not super skinny, but just slimmer frame people, like that's who's susceptible to it, like I forget what it is, like metamorph or something. So they're just more susceptible to it, and it's pretty much impossible for the other two. But yeah, that's crazy. It's just fun. It's your lung wall. You're so tall, and your lung walls are bigger and weaker or something. But there's like certain breathing exercises you can do, and it happened again in 2013, but it hasn't happened since. So like, I can't.
Do you ever have to? Sorry to cut you off, but
okay.
Do you have to deal with that like on hot days at the track in the car, or like?
No, I don't have decreased lung capacity or anything. It was just. Okay. It was like, man. The reason it originally collapsed is because I was sick and throwing up. And so that's what did it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's like, it's
You're
like
straining a lot of muscles.
Straining, yeah. And it's like TMI, I know, but yeah, so that's kind of what happened. And then, but yeah, I went to the doctor. I'm like, I can't breathe. You just get short on breath. Like you can't take a full breath. And then they're like, you need to go to the hospital, because they like listened to me, and I guess they're like, you need to go to the hospital. Yeah. So I went to the hospital, and
more experienced people on.
Yeah. So I went to the hospital, and they were like, oh, you just broke a rib. I'm like, geez, breaking a rib is terrible, because I was like, couldn't breathe. So they sent me home. So I walked home like a mile, and I'm trying to remember. Sorry, it's been a long time. I think my daily driver at that time was. I sold that car, and my daily driver was the CRX, and I started partying it out. Anyways, it's irrelevant to the
It all
listeners.
blends together,
Yeah, but yeah, I walked home, and they called me in the middle of the night, and they're like, you need to come back, or you're gonna die. And I know, I'm like, is this a joke? So they sent a Crown Vic. A guy named Leroy came and picked me up because I didn't want an ambulance, and he picked me up and took me to the hospital, and they rushed me back, and they pretty much stabbed me. To do a chest tube. Yeah. It's one of the worst pains. Like if you look up like top 3 pains, it's the worst pain you can have.
No shit.
Yeah, it hurt.
Oh my God.
Because usually
there's like a full study on it.
I know. Well, in movies, if you watch, if like somebody's gotten in a car crash and they have a collapsed lung or something, they like do it, and they're always like, "This is gonna hurt." And they do it, and it makes a crazy noise, and there's fluid everywhere, and so they're like, "This is gonna hurt a little bit." And it was the worst pain of my life, but yeah.
Did it do the?
It did this, and stuff went everywhere.
So all the sound effects are like
they're
accurate?
Real. Yeah, and I was looking at it, I'm like, holy shit. I actually was speechless for 2 hours. I couldn't speak because it hurt so bad.
Wow.
I know. I'm going at like 90 miles an hour here, but yeah.
No, you're good. This is interesting. So okay, so after the collapsed lung, were you still living in your I had with someone at that time?
Yeah, so I was homeless for a bit. Found was staying with a friend. Lung collapses. Insurance wouldn't cover it. So I was like, well, I need to hire employees. I need more space for Chase Bays because we were growing, and rent's too expensive out here in LA. I know people that are down to work for me. So there was multifaceted. So parted out the CRX to pay for all my medical bills and, fun going home, getting a shop and all that. So I moved back to Birmingham, and then Greg Bucell actually came and worked for me, who's now at Coro Works. So we had
shout out Greg.
Yeah, dude, we had an insane time for like a year. He lived with me, and then Bon, Simpson Bath, Bon B, they call him. He's got a Takata Green EG Civic, lives in Tennessee. He's in Premium Garage Crew, if you've ever
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Okay, yeah, they're in Nashville. So we all lived in a house and worked, did stuff,
Sick.
did chase-based things. Well, it was in our living room at first, and then we got a shop in Pelham. But yeah, we had fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and then Greg went back home, and Vaughn went back home, and I don't know, man. That's kind of like the what do they call it? The after the Roman Empire, the Dark Ages. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After that's kind of like the Dark Ages, because it was just, all right, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to
thrown to the wolves.
Yeah,
just figure it out.
Yeah, because it was all fun and games when it's like easy to fulfill, but then like the real business problems start, and then you're faced with all these challenges that you're not trained on at all.
Well, what was the first one you were first major one you were faced with that you didn't have the first clue to figure out?
It would probably be negative feedback. So, if you run a business long enough, you're going to get, negative feedback.
Of course.
And whether
content's the same way.
What's that?
Content's the same way. So if you're trying to do that too, expect that.
You got haters or what?
No, yeah. Every time I post something about an LS, it doesn't matter what I say.
Yeah.
Someone's got opinions.
Okay. Yeah, they'll beat you up too.
If I talk about influencers, oh my God.
And they start attacking you personally
Y'all are
too.
Wild.
They're like, why do you look like that? You're like, I don't know, dude. My parents made me.
I don't know. I got beat by the ugly stick. What do you expect from me?
Yeah, that one was the first one because it was almost like going into it naive because it was a Honda Tech thread where this one was, we weren't in the wrong necessarily, but this customer, we made engine harnesses for years, and thank God we don't anymore. I love Wiring Specialties.
I couldn't do it. Shout out to Wiring Specialties.
Yuri is awesome.
By the way, 5% off in the description if you
really
want it. Yeah.
Y'all, you have
just an
wiring?
Affiliate, dude.
Okay. You talk to Yuri?
I barely mention them, and like the link works.
Okay.
Like people use it. Because 5% off
that's a lot.
I paid $1,400 for my harness.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I didn't have anything to do with them at that time.
Yeah.
And I love it. I'll advocate for them always, dude.
Well, and that's, we can talk
wiring.
We can talk about that later, but just there's certain types of products that have negative feedback, like inherently. It's clutches, plumbing, and wiring. And wiring, we did engine harnesses and we were doing like the fluid power products. And those, you just can't, like, you have to be a master of one. Yeah. They're too difficult. So yeah, we did engine harnesses for years. And then, I was talking about negative feedback. So we had somebody who posted on, it's okay. Well, dude, we're going to ping pong.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
So yeah, that was the biggest problem that I had, where I was like, I don't know how to speak to somebody who's angry. I don't know how to handle this. And I learned very quickly. I mean, it takes basically getting, like you said, thrown to the wolves, and then you just find your way out, And it's tough too, because when you're that young, there's nobody, you can't afford a consultant. Yeah. You don't have, like, none of your friends have been through it before too. Like, you'd have to go like 10 or 15 years ahead of you. None of my family members that I was speaking to owned businesses. My dad was a serial entrepreneur, but we were not on speaking terms at the time. And so it was hard because, I didn't know how to handle it. So it was basically somebody had bought a harness, and it was 8 months from the time they bought it, right? And it sounds really bad without context, but they bought it, and our turnaround time was 8 to 10 weeks, which was common at the time for wiring. Still is. I mean, if you get a chassis harness made,
what type of swap was it? Do you remember?
Let's see. At the time, that was, I believe, it was a K series and an EK. Okay. And then we made SR harnesses, KA, 1J, 2J, RB, and then all the Honda, like B, K, all that. So there was a Honda K series, and so after 6 weeks, he made a change, and then I had to order more parts. So it nullified the like 8 to 10 week process, and then he changed to this and that. So we were in the communication the whole time, but it kept changing, and I'm like, well, let me send you your money back or something. He's like, no, it's cool, like it's all good. And then I had, and this sounds like a made up story, but it's reality. But yeah, I had gotten strep throat. I remember it because it's like burned in my brain. Yeah. And I had gotten strep throat, and I couldn't. It's like I didn't understand at the time that you can't leave, like when they spend money with you. I know it sounds like obvious, but like, I guess in an email, I'm like, I have strep throat. I can't work on your stuff. And they're like, I don't give a shit that you have strep throat. Like, I need my products. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't understand that yet. dude, I was 21, 22 years old. Yeah. And, so I had strep throat. So I just didn't answer the phone for, 2 days. And I was trying to reply to emails, but I was like, they'll understand. I'll just email them or something. And then he went to Honda Tech and was like, what's going on? Like, has anybody had problems with the chase bays? And at the time, nobody had, but it was the general discussion and debate forum in Honda Tech. And if anybody was ever on Honda Tech, that was like the shit posting. That's where like memes were created. Like LOL cat started there, and like, you know what I mean? It was just shit posting area where like a lot of the guys weren't even really into cars. Honda Tech was one of the most popular forums, across the board. Yeah.
Just keyboard warriors.
So dude, they ripped me apart. Like because the guy even posted like page 2, and he said, he was saying, it was like, he was naive about it too, because he just said, I just haven't gotten in touch with him for 2 days. And, just wanted to see if anybody else, like, I'm sure it's fine, blah, blah, blah. Like, he was really optimistic, but then everybody else like created this narrative, like, he's screwing you over. Yeah. Scammer was a big word back then. Cause like in the Honda world, there was so like, there still is, but in all the worlds, there's like scammers everywhere. And so they were calling us scammers and all that. And then I just didn't even know about it. And my friend called me and like, dude, there's like a 9-page thread about you. And I'm like, holy shit. Cops showed up to my house because they found that I didn't have a business license. And then like they were just trolls. And so they were like, by page 6 or 7, like the mob had created. And, dude, if it sounds made up, but like anybody that was ever on Honda Tech general discussion and debate, like you post like, dude, this girl like cheated on me, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, let's blitz her phone. And she'd get like she'd get like 200 phone calls. Like this is where trolling and memes began. So yeah.
Good old forums, baby.
Yeah. I don't even know. I don't remember what they said to get the cops in my house, but I just remember like they were like, he doesn't have a business license. He's not legitimate. Let's fucking ruin his life. I'm like, holy shit. So that was the worst thing that ever happened. And it was interesting because we've certainly, any company will have like product failures or whatever. As long as you do something about it, then you're good, and take care of your customer. Yeah. But it's funny because the first thing, it wasn't even like I had necessarily fucked up. It was like a communication thing, So that was, it's kind of a long story, but yeah, that was the first like huge thing where I'm like, dude. Yeah. And this is the big one, is that I posted by like page 9 and I was like, what's the big deal? Like I was sick, I'm sorry, but like I was sick. I didn't mean for this to happen, blah, blah, blah. And they just ripped it apart. It's like, so I didn't respond.
At that point.
Yeah. Well, they don't care. Like,
they don't really care in general. But.
They don't care in general. Yeah. But I could have been better about it. And I learned that if somebody says something negative, you have to make them, like, you have to assure them that everything's good, take care of them, send them their money back, and then just say, you can still get the product, but we'll just charge you when it's done. Like, just make them, cause it's the right thing to do. And, you got to stay in communication, and that's really hard. It's like if you're the one doing the work and communicating, you're like, well, I got to work, so I can't just be on the phone.
You can't do both every second of the day.
Yeah. So it's I learned, from that, just like how to respond properly, like let them know you're not the scammers. You're not like everybody else. You're going to take care of them. Cause even now, if people have knee-jerk reactions, or if something shows up missing or wrong, or they don't even, they just don't understand it, or they think something's wrong, they'll like lie.
Their wife just pissed them off, and now they can't find this part that's in their package.
Yeah.
They're like completely overlooking it, but they're pissed. So they're just going to cause a scene,
Well, and it makes sense too. Cause I mean, I've built like 22 cars now, and like, dude, we've dealt with so many companies that are just bad. Yeah. And so their knee-jerk reaction for a lot of people is to just attack. Yeah. And so we have like a copy paste at this point. We're like, look, we're not like other companies. We will bend over backwards to help you out, whatever it takes, Yeah. Even if it's not our fault, we still, like, we of course have people who have the brake line like routed on the header, and it melts. And they're like, this is fucked up. Like, this is unsafe, blah, blah, blah. Look, we're going to take care of it. We're going to refund you. But,
I suggest you running in a different route.
Yeah. And then usually it's like, okay, cool. Because ultimately everybody's okay with it as long as they're taken care of. But yeah, and just connecting the two now, it's just that was the biggest problem I'd run into, and like probably one of the most valuable things. It's still, it still burns a little bit, but yeah, it was.
Communication is a very valuable skill. Yeah, I will admit that. I watch videos on people on like just how to speak, how to be a better interviewer, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's important. Especially if I'm trying to pursue it.
Yeah.
Legitimately.
I know. And it's there's different styles to it, but especially from a company and just, reassuring them, making sure they're taken care of. Cause the world is full of scammers, it's full of, what do you call them? Grifters. Yeah.
That's so fucking true.
Yeah. So in terms of the history, we're only at like 2010 or 11 or something. So, I mean, like I said, the dark ages was just, like I said, man, just put my head down and working.
You could go hours on end on the Honda days.
We'll end it there.
So, like, so you're big into Hondas, then it transferred into more drifting then at that point? Or was it still kind of road racing or?
Well, at that time, I'd stopped. I didn't have time to go to the track anymore, but I was more focused on road racing and stuff. And man, actually, I was at D1. Yeah, I went to the D1 in Irwindale. I went to the D1 in Long Beach in California. Dude, they had brought the Goodyear Skyline over, like all these legends. And I was still kind of like half a step into drifting and road racing. So I was like, holy shit. Like Signal Auto, like those, the matching 240s are Signal Auto, is that right?
Still had the wow effect.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was kind of, you mentioned earlier how much 240s were at the time, and then we went off on our 8 tangents. But so I got around this time where we left off, I think 2010, I got my first 240. It was 80,000 miles on it, 2-tone S13 coupe, perfect.
2-tone, hell
completely
yeah.
stock, yep. And I bought it for $1,500.
Okay.
And side note, my first car was a 240.
Okay.
It was not a Honda CRX. My first car was a 240. And it's crazy to think it was in 1993. And at that time, 2004 was when I turned 16. So it wasn't that old of a car, man, like a 10-year-old car. And I think we paid like $2,500 or $3,000. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. And they only went up from there, even in their even in like the zip tied days of drifting where, like in this period, like 2009 and 10. But yeah, so to answer your question,
so cheap, man.
I know. Well, it's I mean, they really didn't jack up in pricing until like 16, 17. I mean, they kind of stayed. Yeah. They stayed in that like $5,000 range. I mean,
even
forever.
16, 17, you could still find one for a couple grand, and it's still running. You know, it may be pretty beat to shit on the outside, but you can still find the deal. I know. At least now, it's
240s were girls' cars.
Did you know that? Yeah.
They were like the Celica, the 2004-ish Celicas. Yeah. Those were girls' cars. Some guys had them, but yeah, I remember when I was 16 and got one. Some older kids were like, "That's a girls' car. It's a girls' car." I'm like, this is the future of drifting. Just watch.
Yeah, you just shut up and watch.
Yeah, but yeah, what was the question?
So going because it was about the road. Where you still in road racing and stuff like that.
Yep. So. Yeah, I would say fully switched over to just more be drifting focused in 2011, 2012, because we sponsored Formula Drift and went on the road a little bit in 2013. I got a new FRS at 2013, built it and was drifting it. And so, yeah, I'd say around then it was fully switched over. But Hondas have never died with this, and it's more of like what Chase is focused on, and which of course translates to the business. But I mean, I was saying earlier, like the show car, utilitarian kind of car meet car versus the functional drift or road race car. There was still like half the people that were like, "Oh, these are show car products," and half the people were like, "Oh, these are function only products." I'm like, "Hello, they're both." Like you can,
you're not gonna believe this, dude, but you can do both.
Right? Yeah, high end design, high end function. So that's the answer to that. Is at some point it's just about drifting, and I just got obsessed, man. I mean, drifting.
Was there something in drifting that you were like, that's definitely the next motorsport, like the next big motorsport for advertising and stuff like that? Yeah,
I think, I came from skateboarding, and I knew that for, any skateboarder or BMXer seems to just get drawn to
gravitate
drifting. Yeah, because it's like, it's a subjective, creative inducing, like it's so cool because you can do whatever you want. you know, and a sort of, you know, there's rules and limitations and some of the
freestyle aspect.
Yeah. And, you know, stuff like Spec Miata is so much fun, but you have to do the same thing. But with drifting, you know, you can build the car, whatever color, all this, you know, it's the open canvas. And then there's a subjective aspect to it that's just like chaos and fun, just like, you know, skateboarding and BMX. And so, yeah, of course, gravitated to it and just understanding like how young of a motorsport it was. And, yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to put into words how I knew like this was going to be it.
Yeah. You just kind of felt it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's kind of one of those things, like if I'm super into it, like this is the most fun that you can have. And you know, and cause I'd been on track, I'd like raced, I'd done all these things, and that's super fun too. Like I can't really say which one's more fun, but it's a new avenue, you know, and it's fresh, and it's like, we can make it into what we want, you know, and it started out just awesome. Like all the Japanese drifting, it's my thing. I like so my products look good and they function well. Yeah. Drift cars supposed to look good and function well. You know what I mean? And like, you know, certainly, that's
please.
Yeah.
Make your car look cool.
Yeah. And it takes time. I mean, you know, I've certainly had the multicolored panels and like.
Yeah, I do right now, but it's going to get painted fairly soon.
Yeah. There's the intention.
I just need the time to do it.
Well, I mean, it comes in stages too. I mean, certainly there's those people who are like, it has to be in sports and work wheels and this, which sounds like me, but there's a pathway to it, you know? I mean, like there's levels. Like you can't just go, I think I should drift. And then boom, you have this like show, you know.
Yeah, no, that shit ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah,
Vertex everything, and
I just drifting is I don't know, man. It's the most fun you can have, and I don't really know
anything.
I know
it's a different type of adrenaline rush.
Yeah, and this
I will always say that.
Yeah, anybody listening understands it. I think the coolest thing is you know, a lot like our VP Brian. He's at all the events. A lot of people know him, but he's a professional race car driver, and he's been in, you know, Ferrari Challenge, WRL, IMSA, all these like really high end series. And then we've been friends. I mean, he was the best man at my wedding. Like we've been friends for forever, but he never like crossed over into drifting. And then when he finally rode in a drift car, he's like, holy shit, I have to do this, dude. Yeah. This is insane.
But you were telling me about him, and he's got some interesting stories. So if you guys want to see him on, let me know that in the comments, because more than likely I'm going to make that happen.
Yeah. And the kind of connecting all the things we've just talked about, the thing about drifting is right now there's a lot of opinions on what it should be, because there's some people who have gone like who fully committed to competing and, you know, they're bankrupt. And then you've got people who not actually bankrupt, but you know what I mean? Like it can like
what is your opinion on that though? Going the competition route versus the more like the grid life route, the more fun stuff. Yeah, there may be a competition here and there, but like you're in it for the show, and everyone knows that. So, like, what's your opinion on comp versus more fun events?
I think a motorsport or any sport, action sports, it all has to have an element of competition. There has to be, and this is road racers' problems with it that I think we're working out, is that there's no metric, right? Because like we said earlier, it's subjective, and people are like, oh, it's like figure skating. Like, don't say that. It's more like the Blue Angels. Okay, just y'all can use that. We thought of it because I mean, because it is. It's like in unison. People are like, oh, it's like figure skating. They're like, oh, that doesn't sound. You know, that's not really my thing. Yeah. No, it's like the Blue Angels. So but it needs a metric. Like, there's not Blue Angels competitions. That's something different. But like in road racing, it is objectively a winner, or, you know, the fastest time, and that's important, right? Yeah. And in basketball and football and all these things, there is a metric to it, and it's
very easy to point out who the winner would be or is.
Yeah, there's no like buying your way in at a certain point. You know what I mean? It's just talent. And skateboarding, that was its problem. Just to connect that one too, and I haven't forgotten the question. I'm going to answer it. But skateboarding's problem was that it was too subjective, right? And it was frustrating because and this is going to sound familiar to drifters, the judges make calls that people don't agree with. Yep. And like unanimously, everyone disagrees. And they're like, what is the deal? Is it because they have a bigger sponsor? Is it because this? Is it because this? But, you know, Street League in skateboarding, if anybody's familiar with it, Rob Dyrdek started it. all these other comps were just subjective. 3 judges go, that was a 10, that was a 7, blah, blah, blah. There was no metric to it. Rob Dyrdek figured it out. He created an entire system and analytics, and it shows like if they're 94% landing or 90%, 94% accuracy, each trick meant had a value to it. And then they would have, if somebody made up a new trick, they'd have to like flip in, flip out of this weird thing that nobody's done. They're like, all right, we have to figure this out. Like, what's the difficulty level?
Time out.
Yeah, but they took it seriously. And that's why Street League has been so successful. And that's what led to it being an Olympic sport, is because they created a metric for it. So you have to have that. Like, you can't just have, skateboarding couldn't just be vibes and skate videos, and expand in a way that can make a living, because you've got soul skaters like, I just vibe out, blah, blah, blah. But dude, don't you want to make a living from it? Like if you can build a $50,000 drift car, how cool would it be if you're not an influencer, if you're just competitive, how cool could it be to make a living out of it somehow, And, you find different ways of doing it. I started a business, and the business led me to it. There's different ways, but I mean, we all want the sport to grow into something that we want to see. So my opinion on it is that, both things are important. Like you've got the core group of people, like your, I guess you could call it grid life, but it's like final bout. Like it's like the true nature of drifting. Like you have to have a certain amount of style. You have to have a certain amount of talent on driving, and it's competitive, and it's like team tandem and stuff. And then you've got FD, which people have major gripes with because they disagree with the judges, and there's no metric or baseline to base that off of. And I think it's going to take, somebody just creating, and people are leaning into it, but you have to have competition, and it can't wreck your life.
Yeah.
Because skateboarding, you just have, it's a little easier. Certainly it's more
break yourself.
Right. I was gonna say it's certainly less safe, but it's certainly cheaper to get into, you just have to feed yourself and your skateboard is like $100 total.
That's actually insane to say. Skateboarding is less safe.
Yeah,
because we're going so much faster. There's so many more mechanical parts moving, and
I know, isn't it?
So much more going on.
Yeah, and road racing is more unsafe because you get to 180 and all that in some situations. But yeah, drifting's not there. It's more people have died in the crowd because the tire falls off and it hits them. Like I think the only death in drifting is the one or 2 photographers in Japan that died when a tire hit them. Yeah, at least that we like. At least in public. I don't know what happened if somebody flipped off.
If we're wrong, of course, correct us in the comments.
Sure.
Blah, blah, whatever.
But yeah, so it is crazy to say that. But yeah, so skateboarding is I think just like what and BMX is like what we have to use is a good comparison. They created metrics. We have to create metrics.
For the competition side, I 100% agree. There needs to be designated scores or numbers to specific tricks. Or however you run your line, whatever it is. I'm personally not a fan of competition.
Okay.
Solely just because of the fact I see so many people want to do it that are completely oblivious to what it actually entails. So like people that are really quiet, they won't get on camera. So that's a big problem you're going to have. You got to be on camera no matter what.
Well, because half of it is the branding.
Yeah, and most people, they don't know how to brand anything.
Yeah.
So they're just thinking of like, the logo goes on the car. It's shown up at the event. That's the work. No, it's not. There's so many extra stuff that goes along with it. And once you get up to that higher level, it's so fucking expensive. You're going to have to learn all of that and do it 10 times more at that level. And people don't understand that going in. So a lot of people fall off, which pushes them out of drifting, I think. And I hate to see that. And I think that's a lot of the reason why I wanted this to start, so that could be a little bit more out there and available to people for people to understand. Because I had Jonathan Cash on. Dude's the lowest budget in FD, I think, still. If I'm wrong,
whatever.
Maybe
Correct
I'm
us in the
wrong
comments,
again.
as always.
Yeah, but so it's interesting to see someone like him as like, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna try it and I'm gonna do it. If I go broke doing it, so be it. But I just don't see the value in it for the effort you have to put in. You could have so much more fun and make more money, I think.
Yeah.
In the long run doing other stuff.
Yeah, this isn't meant to hurt anybody's feelings, but it is one of the biggest scams in motorsports right now. And I'm, you know, that's not an opinion of Chase Bays. That's an opinion of me. But it's like you do have to have competition, but dude, it's a total loss. I mean, we've been sponsoring drivers since 2013. I've watched so many of them like borderline ruin their lives. Like their wives leave them and you know what I mean? Like, and then if you have kids, like it's just not cool, man. I mean, there has to be, if we want the sport to grow in the way that we want to, like, cause you know, we're small potatoes. Like your title sponsor can't be Chase Bays. Your title sponsor needs to be way bigger. Like, you know, I mean, we have like NOS and all that, like Rockstar and stuff. But like, you want Netflix to be making documentaries and mini series about drifting, like they did with F1. Like you want it to be on, I don't know, ESPN or something like that. I mean,
the sport entirely is too far from being at that level. I think there needs to be a lot more professionalism and more white collarness within the industry.
Well, and this is probably one of the more like a thing that would create an argument in the comment section, because people have their different vision for it. Like there's soul skaters or soul drifters and all that. But I mean, it's going to grow. I mean, it's too much fun not to grow, but we just want it to grow in a proper way. And it sucks to see so many people financially ruining themselves. And I personally don't compete. I think we're going to compete in Final Bout this year. And
that's something I really want to do,
dude. Final Bout is one of the best things ever.
Yeah, I've never even been to one.
Yeah, you should go to Special Stage East in West Virginia. That's not too far from here.
Okay,
it's sometime mid-year. I think that's the one we're going to compete at. But Final Bout's cool, man. It's another thing about competitive drifting. And yeah, I almost get overwhelmed talking about what we're talking about right now because there's so much to say, and I don't want to take up the whole podcast talking about it. I agree with you. I mean, it's life. It's maybe dramatic to say that, but it's like borderline life ruining. There's no value. You keep doing that. We should just move the wheel.
I keep forgetting it's there now.
Is it a new edition?
First episode, it's there.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I gotcha.
Love Contes.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks to our sponsor.
Yeah.
It's now giving me a swell bone.
Ding. Yeah. You all get to see my bruised funny bone.
Yes. But yeah, it's again, the competition is necessary. Somebody out there is going to create metrics, and they're going to, you know, be the leaders of it. You know, I know you had Ryan Sage on.
Real quick, can I pause?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, you were talking about I had Sage on.
Yeah, I'm ping ponging a good bit, but yeah, we're. I feel like I didn't say enough about the competitive drifting, and I just wanted to retouch on that. But yeah, I need to watch your thing with Ryan Sage, because I mean I know that there was like a buyout or something, like a partner disbanding or something. But I have my gripes, and I know everybody's very vocal about FD, and they've got to create metrics. You know, I would love to start a competitive drifting company and capitalize on that, because I feel like I have the ideas and systems in place.
I think McMaster has it more figured out.
Everybody's saying that.
Yeah, because they really got the show aspect of it down. If they can get the points aspect of it, like you're talking about, I think they'll kill the charts, and they'll start branching over into the U.S.
Yeah, I was going to say there's something about the U.S. and Japan where things have to happen from there. I mean, no slight toward Europe. Europe's incredible. Obviously, that's where we descended from, but it's like, I don't know what it's just. I think it's just strong capitalism or something. But yeah. It's like drift masters. Like the most people that are drifting are in America and Japan. Maybe that's what it is. But even on a like street league, like there was people, for skating, there's like a European group. They're just killing it, but it's like, it's too hard to, it's like too far over there, even though the internet's there. But yeah, if they come to America, they do seem to have that figured out, like the metrics. Like you just want to make it to where it's irrefutable. It's like, here's exactly why he won. Because at this point we have drone shots. Oh, also that was the problem with Formula Drift for years, is it was like you were just left with the angle that you got. Yeah. But now with drones, you're like, oh, he was, on or off throttle, or he was, he did have good proximity.
Every little detail on if the wheels stop, or you can see literally inside the car if they make a mistake in their hands or whatever.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Like FD New Jersey, when it was at the wall back in the day, that was terrible because it was just a smoke bowl. Yeah. So they just didn't know. They go, we don't know who won. I guess it's him because they paid more money. But yeah, and I guess that closes that out. I mean, I feel like we agree on that. And I don't know what is the consensus of most of your viewers? Do they weigh in or?
So I will say a lot of the viewers are probably that mindset of going into competition. That's why I bring it up a lot and talk about it, because I really want to deter most of those people. Like, by all means, go do it.
Sure.
Like, do it. If you want to do it, do it. But know what the fuck you're getting into, because it's rough. And if your whole goal is to have fun, that's normally what my question is. It's like, what is your actual goal? Like, why do you want to do FD, or why do you want to drift in general? And most people are just like, well, I want to make a career out of drifting. I was like, oh, you're in the wrong route, dog. Sure. That's horrible.
Yeah. Well, that context helps me. I guess I should have started there. Yeah. So, I mean, we've sponsored so many people, and we've just watched their budgets happen, and we've watched it all fall apart. And some of them just don't seem to know when to say, I can't do this anymore. They just, and that's part of the like entrepreneur spirit, it's like, I'm going to do it till it works. But like at some point you have to pivot, currently, I hear commonly, okay, I want to drive with the best. I want to see how I pair with the best.
Dude, that's a big one.
Dude, here's the thing.
Go to Grid Life.
Well, so there's still an acceptance level to it, right? So, I mean, Final Bout's a great way to do that. Your car has to be a certain caliber, like it has to be at a certain level. So that's kind of tough. But all these guys,
I like that though.
I agree.
I really love that.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts about it. I'm all about it, because we need to up the ante of the builds and all that. And that goes into like
more FOMO factor.
Well, it's more FOMO. It's like all my favorite topics are being talked about, so I can't stay on one.
Sorry.
No, it's good. But like, if you want people like a Netflix documentary to happen, you can't have the ratty drift cars that you see around, like it has to be Final Bout, because that's what non-drifters would be like, that's sick, that's cool. So you have to have that. But so everybody drives, like not everything is Grid Life, not everything is Final Bout. Like there's ways that you can go tandem with pros and all that. But I mean, financially, I've gotten into commercial real estate basically to fund more car stuff, but and because that's just the way you create like any sort of security and all that. So I've got several properties and
generational wealth.
Yeah. I didn't have it. It wasn't given to me, but I want to create it,
That exactly.
Tough time to be in it too. I wish I was a little older. You could get all kinds of stuff. So you could just go into an old city and go, let's turn this into a hip town again, But now it's like there's still in commercial real estate, there's still money. We'll talk about that later. But what I'm saying is, as an investor, like with an investor mentality, it's like, what does $50,000 get me? What does $100,000 get me? And with drifters, they have to look at things that way. You can't be reactive. You have to be proactive. So what are your goals? You want to see how well you pair with a pro. Okay. Is that ego based? Like what do you get if you learn that? And if it's like, I just have to know, okay, cool. It is literally cheaper to rent a track, pay their way, give them incredible paydays, like get your 3 favorite drivers and say, hey, I'm having this giant event, get the best event planner, get all this stuff. Like that's cheaper than running a whole competitive drifting series.
And you'd probably get sponsors better for something like that, dude. What the fuck?
You'd have more fun. You'd create something cool. I mean, maybe that is actually cheaper. Cause if you pay, I don't know what it would cost. Like you had Nate Hamilton on recently, right? Okay. Let's say somebody wants to see how well they drive against Nate Hamilton. What does he cost per day? Like, I think $5,000 or $10,000 would be an incredible payday. If you just said, hey, I'll pay you 10 grand, like almost any sponsored driver would be like, okay, cool.
Dude.
Like that's cheaper, and you'd get to go drive with them.
It's so funny because I've actually thought of this as like a video idea. Not something that I want to do because it doesn't relate to me whatsoever.
Okay.
But if there's someone out there that creates content around drifting and preferably like hasn't drifted a real car before and does sim racing a lot, calls out a professional driver in a real car as a sim drifter.
Okay.
That would blow the fuck up on the internet. I guarantee it. Just because of the Peter Visick video that he did with the sim, putting a sim driver into a real car, 800 whatever fucking horsepower. And he murdered. It was like nothing.
I don't know anything
Second
about
nature,
it.
bro.
That's
you
awesome.
haven't seen that?
That's awesome. That happens in road racing all the time.
Oh yeah, that video blew up instantly.
So he was really good at sim, got in an actual
He was
well
a
set up
world
car
champion in sim racing
and killed it.
And
That's
came
awesome.
on. I think it was a giveaway circumstance. Or
Was
something.
it Assetto?
I don't remember.
Oh, yeah,
this video was like
probably.
a year or two
Okay,
ago.
Assetto Corsa is just the sim stuff, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. I've driven a sim a couple times in my life. That's about it.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I mean, you said you're not going to do it, but somebody out there should. Make
Yeah. Because I drove before driving a sim, so like
Same.
the sim just doesn't relate
Same.
to me, right? It's
Yeah.
I gotta sit there and fucking practice for months to
Yep.
figure it out. But
You know, Podium One Racing, they're in Nashville. They're building the incredible sims.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. If I'm sitting in a chair and I'm doing this, I'm like, most of drifting is
nothing
kind
there.
of in your butt, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you feel it in your bones, and
always
so
the
it's
hips.
Yeah, it's usually
Hips
hips,
is what it is.
and yeah, it's hard. But it's hard to transfer that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how to. Like people are really good at it, but yeah, I'd have to get one
Yeah,
of
they're
the
sitting
ones.
there just
Yeah, I'd have to get in one of the ones that actually like do like actual
motion
movements
sounds,
and
yeah.
G-force and all that. But I digress.
one big thing that I've heard is even if you can't do that, have a fan.
Huh.
Just wind blowing on you.
Okay.
But that like I've heard that so many times, but to me, like I don't remember the last time I ever noticed wind blowing on my face, even when I'm driving.
Yeah, it could be
You
one of
got a
those
helmet on
subtle
and
those
shit,
subtle
it's like-
things. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's sensory overload for sure. So I mean, it's a factor. It's one of the 20 factors, I guess. What about dirt? Like you get a friend to throw dirt on you, like you're going off track.
Oh, what the fuck? Yeah. Just have one of those little like those Febreze like instant
But you could put a
sprays.
helmet. You could put a helmet on. Your girlfriend walks in. You have a helmet on, and you're on your computer. Like,
What's up,
what
babe?
is- There's dirt and
Anyways.
wind spraying on you. Like, what's wrong with you? She leaves you.
You're taking this too far, dude.
Yeah. Just go out and actually
Get your
drive.
shit together.
Yeah. What were we talking about? We were talking about the financial stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's we're just not there yet. I mean, it sucks though because competitive drifting has to happen in order for the sport to grow. But I highly recommend against doing it with most groups. I mean, clutch kickers was a good way to do that, and the track was a good equalizer, and that didn't work. And I don't know much about Riverside, but I know they're kind of doing the same tempo, same thing.
Yeah.
Those things are good. They usually have an expiration date because the money runs out.
That's what I'm starting to see, and that's another reason why I bring it up too, because the smaller payouts like that, or I guess they're bigger payouts, events, smaller events, bigger payouts. God damn, I can't talk. What the hell?
You'll get there.
Yeah, those are starting to just wither away. And clutch kickers, like they shot too high from the jump. They didn't have enough room to move up.
Well, they didn't own anything either. Everything was rented. So
Yeah, that was another big problem.
you always got to own it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I mean, that's hard to do. Yeah, I think it's a problem too because the cars have gotten so advanced in FD that it's even harder to get into. If we still were in that, and this is why Final Bout's incredible. If you're still in that 400 horsepower range, the ability to get into it's so much easier. Because the Team Proceed won Final Bout overall this year. And, Simba's car is a pretty rowdy SR S13.
Yeah.
Lee's car is a stock BRZ with all the suspension stuff. I shouldn't say stock, but it's like AC, full interior. It's got our handbrake in it, but it's like it's a BRZ with a lot of suspension stuff and a turbo kit. That is all. And they won. And then in Texas when we went, it was all stock turbo. Like it was 3 black 240s, S13s, all with stock turbo SRs. And they were of course newer turbos, not like the 20 however 30-year-old turbos. But I mean, they won. And they were up against, 400 horsepower 1JZ cars and all that. Yep. So it's all like the tracks aren't huge. And that's what the advantage of clutch kickers was. The tracks aren't massive.
I got to drive the whole Florida track, which I loved. That was
clutch
one
kickers?
of the best tracks ever that I've driven.
You did?
Yeah.
I never drove it. That's awesome.
Oh, dude. It was amazing.
Well, it's great because it's not a drag race,
It was like a better mid-pond to me.
Really? Okay.
Way better mid-pond.
We should talk about mid-pond in a minute.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's a problem. And, I think final bout's like the way to go for so many people because it's team tandem. So it's more
in goals.
Yeah, it's more interesting for the spectator because in comp you're trying to psych each other out, right? You either win the drag race and that's it, or you know, I mean, there's certain most tactics are illegal, so to speak.
Yeah,
like brake checking and all that kind of stuff. But like ultimately, you can run different lines each time and mess with the follow driver.
Yeah,
and that's all. That's good for the winner. But for the spectators, you're like, I want to see action. Like I want to see a door on a door, and that's what is interesting on the grander scheme of things too. Like if it's going to be, I'm going to keep using Netflix as the example because like maybe that's just our current target of like we want Netflix documentary to grow drifting.
Yes,
right?
Well, we made it.
so people like us can get like really rich, or moderately at least.
Ta-da.
Yeah. Well, you've got like the biggest drifting podcast, so you'll be up there. So you'll be like the commentator, it's like John Madden, how he was
spilling all the beans.
Yeah. But yeah, so the good thing about the team tandem is that your objective is to keep it tight, keep it close, and you work together. Like you plan everything. You go, we're going to clutch kick here. We're going to do this. We're going to do this.
It gets that nitty gritty.
If your team wants to win, I mean, if you want to put on a show, like it's all staging. It's just like Blue Angels, like I talked about. They have every second. Yeah. Blue Angels have every second planned out, right? They know. I mean, it's like timed. Like 10 seconds in, I go this way, you go this way. This is what we do, and then we meet back here.
Yeah,
it's all planned. They're not freestyling by any means. So drifting, especially team tandem drifting, is the same way. I mean, the guys that are doing well, they are practicing all, if they go to the track, they're practicing all the time. Mm-hmm. But you can sit there and strategize, because you can say, we want to get close to the wall or we don't, and if the front driver is like, oh, I'm going to scrub the wall, and the other guy's, well, no, I want to hang inside. You have to coordinate that. And so the great part about it is that a good team works together to transition at the exact same points, to have certain proximity toward the wall or the inner zone or anything. And then what the spectator gets is something incredible.
Yeah.
And if
it's a lot more impressive to be that consistent.
Yes. The cars look incredible. They're all together. They like the judging is not just the driving, it's the style too. They ask you about your engine bay and you go, why are you running this? Why are you running this? And if you go, I don't know, I just bought it, then that's a deduction. They want passion behind it. I'm not kidding. That's how it is. They want, thought. They want the positive energy. They want passion behind it. They want inspiration. And so there is a show car aspect to it. There's a utility aspect to it. And there's the talent, the drifting aspect to it. So the spectator gets something incredible to look at because the cars are cool. They work together to have closer tandems.
Drifting should be,
dude. That's it. And yeah, I mean, so the spectator gets something incredible. And like I said, if we want incredible content from like a bigger name than just YouTube or like YouTubers, just so to speak, but like a Netflix documentary or something like that, with Discovery Channel, I don't know. That's what it takes. Yeah. Because drifting is like baseball. It's so damn slow. If you're watching FD, you're just waiting and waiting and waiting. Let's keep the action going.
That's what my background was. So
really,
that helps. Yeah.
Okay.
I played baseball since I was 4 years old until senior in high school.
Awesome. Well, it wasn't a slight toward baseball at all, but I mean, you
not understand. It's I can't watch it. I physically can't watch.
Really? Okay.
Any college, professional, I can't watch it on TV. Occasionally, if I get a free ticket to go in person, I can watch it.
Well, it's great.
But I'm leaving early.
Right. I mean, if it's a big pro game, it's awesome. It's the experience. But yeah, I mean, especially with people's attention spans decreasing, I mean, we have to work with that. So footballs, I'm not a fan of any. I mean, I'll watch it, but I'm not a football fan. But it's faster paced, right? Basketball's faster paced. NASCAR is even getting more faster paced, and people, they're getting viewers again. And so drifting, man, if you watch it, sometimes it's so slow.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I think FD and a lot of these bigger guys need to pick up on what LZ's doing in his little world tours.
Yeah, we're going to all those this year.
That's an event I want to go to one of them.
Yeah.
But he does it they do it very well, but it's also involved with drift games, so that's probably why.
That's
they like every single run they come over to to near the stands and stuff like that, and they get on the mic and they talk, do little questions and stuff. That gives Swan or whoever's running the line to prep the next guys to go for the next lap. And there's never any downtime, and there's always something interesting going on the screen, and it creates a more fast-paced feel to it. None of it's faster paced, but it just feels that way.
That's right.
Because your eyes are always directed
It's
somewhere.
like halftime shows, but quarterly. Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Or like in between inning shows with baseball.
Yep. That's a great point. They keep the action going. Yeah, and any good entertainment, you see that. I mean, even with, I'm not a big fan of F1, but they have like mini documentaries. Like while there's like a crash happens, they show this little mini documentary. With FD, I'm sorry, but you have the worst commercials ever. Yeah. Like their commercials are just no good, and they should do better on saying, hey, y'all need to do better. Like, do better. Do a little mini documentary. Like you're a big name company. I won't name any names, but like it's a big name company. Like, probably 30, 40 million a year. I feel like a lot of that, we've talked about this a lot. Like create metrics, make it more interesting for the spectators, keep it entertaining. I think we'll get there.
It seems like such a simple recipe, but why the fuck haven't we figured it out?
I know.
That's the crazy thing.
Somebody will do it. Well, it's like, I think there's an outsider perspective of somebody who's like, dude, I've got all the ideas. Because ideas are easy, execution's hard, right? Logistics is hard.
Of course.
I think Clutch Kickers was successful because they had the same place that they did it. FD is kind of a moving circus, so they're spending so much time on logistics. Yeah. Instead of like, just get 3 tracks, dude. Yeah. Do 2 rounds at 1 track. You know what I mean? I mean, like NASCAR's had however many years, like 60 years to figure it out. It's not way bigger, you know what I mean? Like I think it's a little bit, it's all like the same as like my experience in business. It's like I tried to do this and it failed. I tried to do this and it failed. I think we're just in the first 20, 25 years where some of it's just kind of reactive. It's like I need to have a drifting competition, here it is. And then there's all these problems with it. Yeah. And so they're just getting to like the first and second chapter, and we haven't gotten to chapter 7 and 8 and all that. And so I think, podcasts like this are very important because you talk to a lot of drivers. I'm a driver and a business owner, and I have like I can take like all approaches. I enjoy watching it. I'm not just a driver.
That's the whole point. Because I mean, with so many demographics, like of people out there in different areas, because like you go up north, the drift scene is completely different technically from down here or out west or whatever. So whether it's the style of cars, the way people act, so you're always going to have like different inputs. And if you're following just a Jimmy Oaks or an Adam LZ or someone, and you're just getting their influence, that can be cool, but like it may not work for just you. You may have different weather. You may have different, all sorts of aspects of it. And like, it's cool to hear how other people operate in different areas of the country, which thankfully you guys are more than willing to come here and like out of your own pocket and everything. So I appreciate you for anyone that
you mean your guests.
Yeah. It's amazing that people want to. But yeah, it's cool to get the different perspectives from people, because I always found I learned the most whenever I was standing in the shop with the homies, just having a conversation or something like that. So
the secret to life is asking the right questions.
Yeah. Word of mouth is like the best advertisement, and that's not even just an advertisement. Like, you may have a question, you ask someone, they may not know, but they probably know someone that does. Right. Or if that person doesn't know, they probably know someone. It's just a chain effect in every way possible. It's crazy. Yeah,
you're kind of going to be. I mean, you are the biggest drifting podcast, right? I don't know that there's many. But you're the biggest. You got the most.
There's the FD podcast. Yeah, like which you would consider that guys, the Jacob best one. Yeah, I love Jacob. Jacob's amazing. He's helped me tremendously in my business.
Wild Lives rocks.
Yeah. But that would be like the one that I would say resembles. Now, when I say that in the beginning, I won't spill the beans on the podcast about that. But cut this part out.
You could. I don't know.
I didn't
mean to put you on the spot. I got it off of.
No, you're good. I just don't want to like, because I just say it just to say it. It was never, I said it from episode 1.
Cool.
But Logan Paul explained the way he does his intros and why. So I kind of took something from that.
I understand.
And he does #1 drift podcast in the world, which is complete bullshit. Everyone knows it. Right. But like, it's something that everyone remembers.
Yep.
So that was something that I wanted to contribute to this number one drift podcast on YouTube, because that's where I wanted people to gravitate towards more.
I understand. Okay. Well, what I was going to say is that, Joe Rogan obviously has like the biggest podcast ever, and he's talked to more people. Like nobody's talked to more people than him.
Yeah.
He's talked to presidents. He's talked to like the top CEOs of all the companies that you've heard of, Elon.
Yeah. He's not
Kanye.
niched at all.
No, dude.
Yeah.
One day he has like far left, one day he has far right, and then the next day he has like a musician. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. So it's almost like if the guy like can't even be open-minded because everybody's convincing of their side. So he just is always going to end up like in the void. Oh, yeah. But he gets to talk to more people and probably understands like all the different issues better than anybody. And so just pulling that down to what you're doing, you talked to the founder of FD. That's awesome. He's done like people can hate all they want. That dude's done more for drifting than most people, Yeah. Swan has done so much stuff. You've talked to so many drivers, so many crew members. So, I mean, you're in a good position to really, move drifting forward, because I think all what I've said, I've thought about a lot, and I think those are really good inputs. And maybe some people that are listening, or maybe you can take that and give it to somebody that can do something with it.
They do it themselves.
Right. Yeah.
Dude, as soon as I post a reel, it's share a story, share the story, share the story. And they're putting their own captions on it.
Yeah. And we're now, Drift Appalachia, we're working with Brian Edgert, who's an FD judge, working with Edgar, who's done Drift Indy for, I don't know how many years, like 12, 13 years.
I've been talking to them. They want to come and do a podcast as well.
They're so funny.
Yeah.
They're out of control, in the best way. Yeah. But they're going to have it, between them and then like Simba at Final Bout, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? It's just like the right ideas, and you can get idea overload. I mean, if I talk to people, they're like, you should do this and this and this and this and this. It's like, cool, come work for me and make it happen. Like that's easier said than done.
I'll pay you.
Right. I love the idea. Let's do it. But yeah, it's just, I think you're going to have, you have more, this has a lot of weight, Circle of Drift has a lot of weight. I'm glad you're doing it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That means a lot.
Yeah. And so, I think, it's the same as other sports too. I mean, it's like when people get together who are in the industry and they talk about it, that's how SLS with skateboarding happened, and all the progress that NASCAR and football and all that's made. It's just like, dude, what are we missing here? Like, and then you fix it, so you can be pivotal in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's some room. I literally just want people to get into drifting.
Yeah.
I just want more people in it. No matter what build you're building, no matter where the fuck you are. I mean, I have viewers from all over the fucking place. It's crazy to me. I don't understand that. Why y'all want to listen to me? It's wild. Thank you.
How'd you get started? How did you, like your first podcast, were you just like, here I go? Like what, did you have a guest, or was it just you riffing?
So I don't like the beginning stage. I had, damn. Yeah, I knew this would happen on a podcast at some point.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. This is how I feel when you ask me, like, how'd you get started? I'm like, dude, where did it begin?
Yeah, well, I won't go too deep into the co-host side of things. Oh, but okay. There was someone that was a co-host. Anyways, basically, I was doing vlog stuff in the beginning for my personal channel. Which now is just basically inoperable. It sits there.
I've seen you made a video about our power steering kit.
Yeah. Actually, I think I sent it to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's right.
So I used to do like little shitty vlogs and stuff like that. Okay. And I had done that for years.
Yeah.
And not consistently. It was like periodically, maybe once a month or something like that, and maybe once every 5 months. So I was doing that for a long time, and what I really loved podcasts. I loved listening to podcasts. It was like almost, if I got in the car, it was podcast instead of music.
Okay.
That was it. And nobody had done a designated drift podcast other than someone like Maximum Driftcast, but they branched off a topic way too often, like to like wild topics, like it, because like I do it sometimes, and like sometimes I cut the topics out just so it flows right. But some things are kind of relatable to like BMX and stuff like that. It's like anyone that's in drifting can relate BMX or skateboarding to drifting, and that's totally something fine to talk about. But if we start talking about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or something, it's like, all right, we kind of need to move on. So I'll find ways
there's a core
to
group
branch
of
off, but
PB&J enthusiasts that
are
dying to hear.
Dude, I've talked about it before. Like, grab you some bread and peanut butter and jelly, and keep that in your trailer and eat that at the track.
Oh, okay,
save money.
So it's connected.
I do it that way, but like, yeah. So nobody had done one properly where it was professional, and on top of that, it wasn't video. So it was always audio. If they did do video, it was one fucking camera angle of garage lighting that was shit.
Yep.
And it didn't have the right feel to it. So at the time, I was selling cars, making decent money for my age. So I was being a little reckless. I was like, fuck this. I'm done.
So that's what
I can't keep up with the vlog stuff right now because I don't have the editing capacity in my brain to do it. So let's start the podcast. I dropped a couple grand on podcast equipment, stuff to set up the studio at as little as it was. And I just started. Because I had already learned at that point, like, you just got to press record. You're always going to tell yourself no. You're always going to fucking wait.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to press record.
That's right.
That's the first step.
Yeah.
So once you get the record button done, you start talking to the camera, you're like, okay, now I want to see what it looks like outside of the camera. What does it look like on a screen? All right, now what if I cut this part out? And you start digging into it. It's just a revolving door at that point. But yeah, that was the approach to the podcast. Was I'm just tired. I'm tired of waiting on someone else to do it. I'm gonna do it myself.
I love it, man. It's just the same way as any business.
Yeah,
you know,
I learned so much from other ones too.
All the products that we make are because nobody else makes them, and I want it. I need it. You know.
Yeah, which I do want to talk about that.
Okay.
Because like Koru Works, you tend to focus on a lot of style in your products and stuff like that, along with the functionality and shit. But like the Handbrake, it still uses like a BMX grip, right? You can?
You can, yeah.
Okay,
we make our own grip, and it's got BMX style grip clamp and everything,
See, I love that. I run a PVM reverse handbrake.
Okay.
For that reason, and nobody's ever been able to talk me out of it,
right?
Until people started catching on, and now they're coming out with them and all that. But I was like, no, I want to run my ODI grip.
Yep.
Nobody's changing my mind, bro. Dude, I used to ride BMX.
We see so many of our handbrakes with the Vans waffle grip and ODIs and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, dude, I love it. It's the shit. So that's something that I've always loved about companies when they really do take the time to focus on stuff like that.
Yeah.
And not just the functionality.
Yeah,
it's like
man.
The functionality is great, but like functionality can look really cool too.
Yeah, I agree. Design aspects are really important to me. I was very inspired by just great architecture and Frank Lloyd and Apple is a good inspiration. Porsche is a huge inspiration because they're kind of selling what we're selling. And I'm not comparing myself to those companies, but they sell, Porsche is beautiful, but it also goes to the racetrack, not like their Cayenne and stuff, but like their 911 and their Caymans and all that.
I argue they're not that beautiful, but that's my
well, that's fine. Yeah. But I mean, they obviously have a huge amount of heritage and they're,
great fucking cars.
Won so many races. And so, the design aspect's so important to me because I'm a nerd about it. I love great design. I want my home to be designed well, and our warehouse and our offices all have good design, or at least we try to. And so, man, the products. It is weird when you have like a very I used utilitarian pretty positively for us, but like more barbaric, like looking products that are just huge and bulky.
Weird.
They add weight. They have like horrible machining marks everywhere and like burrs and stuff. Yeah. Like, dude, we go through so much to make ours have a smooth finish, and like the design, it's like make it as compact as possible. And then when we get it there, we make it have cooler angles that don't sacrifice strength and stuff. It doesn't always work either. I mean, we've got, we've had 3 versions of handbrakes, and we had about 40 that failed. It was really embarrassing, but I try to forgive myself. I mean, we took care of all of it, but you
change them, you improve.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Apple, again, I'm not comparing myself to Apple, but just, they were one of the greats. And now it's kind of a different
influence.
Now it's a differ's story, but like the Steve Jobs era where it's just changing the world kind of shit. Now everybody's like on their phones all the time and it's degrading society. But there was an era where it was like peak design and cool. And yeah, man, the first colored IMAX they sent didn't work. Like the color created some sort of static or something like that didn't work. They literally didn't work. Like they worked when they were in the lab, but they shipped out thousands. Maybe it was the Lisa or one of the early Macintoshes, but like something about it, like it interfered and like the electronics didn't work. It was like millions and millions of dollars. And like, dude, there was like slam articles about them, just saying that they were all pieces of shit. I think that's why Steve Jobs, well, this is before we were alive. I mean, this is in the early 80s. So it wasn't the colored iMac. Yeah, it was the earlier ones, like the original Macintosh Lisa. That's what it was. So eventually he got fired for it, you know, because Pepsi CEO came in and like fired Steve Jobs. So from his own company. And so he went and like licked his wounds and started next, and then mastered the craft, and then eventually, you know, bought Apple, because they went into comparing design. They went more, you know, I'll call it barbaric, but like just purely like for profit.
Stone Age.
Yeah, purely for profit. Just tons of products that just aren't that great. Yeah. And then he came in and like slashed them all and saved Apple after they fired him, you know, 10 years prior. So just in the same way, and yeah, we've had version 1 of the Handbrake, which was awesome. My intention was always to make something that was comfortable, because most handbrakes are not comfortable. That's where the grip comes in. Because other brands, they like are this big machine piece. You'll literally have bloody hands at the end of the day. Even if you wear driving gloves, it causes problems. That's why you see like the little cooking, what are those little pot holders? You know what I mean? Like for when you're cooking, the little pot holders that go on the edge. Yeah, you'll see those on top, or just electrical tape on top. So comfort, being compact, because we like to mount our handbrakes like underneath the center console.
Yeah,
like
that's
OE
a big thing for me.
Yeah, like OE++. It comes through the little cigarette lighter or something like that. And you can't do that with most of them. They're like this big. So we were the first people to turn the handbrake sideways. People are like, oh, they don't work like that. I'm like, dude, it's a pressurized system. Like, it's not how, it's not a gravity, system. So anyways, we turned it sideways, and then, made it to where it could be inline or standalone, where the, you put the fitting in for inline, take it out and put our reservoir on for standalone. Like, it works perfectly fine like that. Nobody had done that. And then, just being super compact, super sleek, all that. So version 1 was great. Version 2 was great. But over time, what we've learned is that, and I know I'm going off on a side tangent, but what we've learned is that handbrakes are items that you need to be able to retighten. Does your handbrake have a lot of shimmy left and right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
now it does after years of abuse.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad you said that. So it's a wear item that has to be serviceable, and nobody knew that until nobody's done.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Nobody's done anything about it until we did, and because when you're pulling it, you're never pulling it perfectly straight. You're pulling it anti, of what the natural movement is.
It's almost like a J.
Yeah.
A J shape.
Yeah, you go in a J, and even pull up, like it's always going to be that. Yeah. And then you can, and it helps to position it right. Like if you sit in your car and you do this, you go, okay, I'm going to do it in this line. I'm going to angle it like this, But it doesn't always work out. If you want to mount it under the center console, it kind of has to be.
You have to cock it a certain way to fit everything.
And that's fine. Like it can take it. And so, version 1, we just wanted it to be stable, because like all of them, like the one that's still like our biggest competitor is a company that's been making them for forever. And theirs shimmies really bad, and they've never done anything about it, but it's fine. I just didn't like that, like you want precision. Like you don't have that in your brake pedal, but your brake pedal is direct 0 degree force, and our handbrake's the J movement, like you said. So that was a big thing. So version 1 was good, but it was a little bulkier than I wanted. So I thought of a new idea. So we did version 2, and the problem with it was something was held on the bottom. And it works great. Like people still have them. It's not like we recalled or anything. Some of our cars still have them. I think they're awesome. It's just a better idea. So the problem was that to service it, you'd have to take it out. To remove it and then turn it upside down, and then the Allen heads on the bottom you have to redo and reclamp it and then put it back. And so version 3 was supposed to be, dude, I had a good idea. We did the handle looks like dimple die. Okay. It's like speed holes. I thought that was cool. And we knew we were doing a steering wheel, which is coming out soon, and we were going to do like a similar thing in the steering wheel, just for like little design continuity.
Yeah.
but it needed to be serviceable, because what happens over time is like you need to be able to retighten it, just like your motor mounts or suspension. Like you have to retorque it, and most handbrakes don't allow for that because they have a certain design that you just can't. Like it is what it is. It's like thrust washers and bearings and all that. So we did. There was 2 issues that we had with it, because I know I'm skipping ahead, but I know that you got a question of like, why does the handle break? So 40 of them broke, and I'm fully transparent about it. We took care of everybody. What happened was that I've tried to find the strongest bearing possible. And I was thought about using like bone Swiss bearings to keep it like skate oriented, but they're just too much money for they're not as like strong as we need them to be because they have urethane around them. So we bought the strongest bearing that we could find. It had the most tension load and all that. And they lied. They weren't honest about, its strength capability. So we popped them in, sent them out, and the bearing would start collapsing, and that put such an insane amount of force on where the clevis point would be on the forward and reverse mount that it would snap the handle, because it wasn't dividing force, it was putting it in one tiny place. Spot. Yep. So and hindsight's 2020, like I did plenty of testing on my own, but it's once you get it out in the mass market, there's just different conditions. Maybe mine was perfectly, like it was pulled perfectly, and then maybe somebody else had more left or right. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many conditions. And so we learned from it. We have a few more stages in testing now. But yeah, it was unfortunate. I'm
part of it.
It is part of it. But we learned from it and we made it right, and that's what's important. But we just got we found a company that was the bearings were 3 times the price of what we were paying, and we didn't increase the price of the handbrake. So we paid more money for the bearings, and we just had to keep looking. Like we thought they were the strongest, but we just had to, like I said earlier, you got to ask more questions. And so we just asked more questions. Then we didn't know before the right questions to ask, but now we did, because there wasn't like surface level ratings. We had to ask something that wasn't on there, you know what I mean? Like impact and certain, and then we'd added a ton of material on it. So if you look at old pictures, the handbrake kind of just does this, and then now it goes out a lot. And so it doesn't change the design at all. It looks cool, and again, everybody got a refund and a replacement handbrake. And so they were out $0. And, most people were understanding, but I mean, if you're at the track and you're like, dude, what happened out there? And you're like, fucking handbrake broke. Like you're going to be mad. So there was some like bad word of mouth and stuff. Yeah. So that was a bummer, because it's like, dude, progress just creates that, I mean, even like Tesla and Ford and like every OE, it's like, dude, they've been making cars for 100.
I wish people understood that more, that like, dude, all these big companies, whether they're, the NOS Energy or something like that, or
somebody probably drank one of those, had a roach in it or something. You never know.
Yeah, but like people take the humanity aspect out of all of these companies, and they don't understand that there's still human beings making the part. Normally in cars and drifting especially, it's like 4 or 5 guys to a shop, dog. Like it ain't very many people trying to pump all this stuff out. So they're trying to take all the R&D that they can do to it, along with all the feedback they can get. And people just need to learn to get out of their own bubble. People live in this world too.
It's a multifaceted issue, because if you contact us and you say, hey, I had a product failure, you're getting taken care of. Like we have the best customer service. You will never be left feeling like you got wronged. And if for some reason you do, tell us, because like we will work, we'll bend over backwards. And so, I mean, of course they're like, we're not going to buy you a new car or whatever. That's just ridiculous. But like, no one's,
don't be delusional.
Right. But like, we do like a refund, and then we replace it, of course. Refund, people,
that's cool.
Yeah, people ultimately don't care about other people, like they're like, there's the humanity aspect that helps with some people, but most people are like, I don't give a shit. I just want to go drifting. Or I just care about myself. That's kind of what they're saying. A lot of people do, but yeah, they ultimately don't care. They just want to be taken care of. It's just like a different mentality. I mean, we are doing something that has not been done, right? So, dual caliper brackets, we made some, and everybody's have broken, like on testing, like ours broke. Nobody has ever put that kind of force on a bracket. I'm talking everybody's, like PBM, the SLG, Sicky, like GK Tech. Everybody has broken them because when you have like big brake caliper brackets, that's centered 0 degrees, just one bit of force, and you're pretty rarely fully locking them up. And even then, the force isn't sideways. So imagine a 265, 200 tread wear tire that you're instantly locking up at 60 miles an hour. That is insane amounts of force on an aluminum bracket. You can't make them out of aluminum. If they're aluminum, they are likely going to break eventually.
Oh shit!
Yeah, dude, it's just the handbrake. I never
thought about that. Okay.
Handbrake's the same way. Rally cars have had handbrakes for a very long time, but they don't use them like we use them. It's more of a slight adjustment, and it's not.
Yeah, it's very quick.
Right, and it's often on dirt. Yeah. So dirt does not create the inertia that can put the load against a handbrake. And so we're just, we're pioneers, man. I mean, that's a lot of these core companies, like I mentioned PBM and Sicky, like they've done so much for the industry. All of us are going to have things happen. And then the thing is like a lot of companies aren't good about it. They never take responsibility. And so customers' knee-jerk reaction is to go on attack because the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Yep. And so it's just, my recommendation is like, don't immediately go to Instagram and Facebook. That's just not cool to do.
Oh yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
I tell people that all the time.
It's just not cool.
I told someone the other day, he went and wrote a review without even getting in contact with the company first. I'm like, don't you ever touch I refuse to write reviews on anything. I won't.
Dude, I only write positive reviews.
Yeah, they're so, businesses, especially in like sales and stuff like that, live off of reviews. Yeah. Like that's how you rank in Google search and shit. Like don't fuck people's reviews up.
Dude, it's 99.9.
Just talk to them.
99.9% of business owners do care. It's just how they're approached in some cases. Like you can approach us in any way you want and we're going to respond how we need to. Yeah. But some people get emotional. Some people will take it personally, and that's just the way it is. So if you come in and you go, you fucking suck, your product suck, blah, 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 they're going to go like, well, what'd you do wrong? You know what I mean? Like they get defensive. Yeah. We're trained. We've learned that we go, I understand, man. Like, yeah, we suck. I mean, what's the deal? Like, what do you need? We'll help you out, So, exactly. But that's not everybody. So like most businesses want to stay in business. Yep. And so I personally have so many product failures with other companies' stuff because I have 22 cars. I've drifted thousands of miles and tracked thousands of miles. Like shit breaks, dude.
Yeah.
Like
part of it, dog.
Yeah. Even like Porsche Motorsport, like they, we've worked with the team that had like a Porsche, like a Manti Racing built Porsche car. They're fucking shit breaks. Like it's part of it. Yeah. And so it's like you either make it stronger or everybody needs to understand that this is part of racing. Like there's two ways to go. Like a clutch is going to fail. Yeah. Over time, like a harness has to be replaced. Like you take it in and out so many times. But I mean, yeah, like I was saying, that most businesses want to make it right. And so if you put people up as defensive, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. All I'm saying is that most people want to make it right. And it's like, if you go to a restaurant and you had shitty service, you don't go like, this is ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. Like that's just not cool. Yeah. You see either they're understaffed, they're a new restaurant, they're not a chain, whatever the issue is, go find the manager and go, I don't want anything for free. This isn't, that's not because a lot of times
just letting you know so that you're aware.
Right. Exactly. Just calmly tell people, Yeah. Because dude, there's so many times I could go, so many companies that are still relevant to this day. I'm like, hey, this is an issue. Like, I'm not mad. I just want it. And they like clap back pretty aggressively. Yeah. And so it's just, sometimes that happens, but I would never talk publicly, it's just not cool.
Yeah.
So if anybody out there ever had a problem or has ever had an issue with us, like we will always make it right, and the cool part, about this is self-serving, but the cool part about us is that we want to be better. You know what I mean? Like if we have a failure, we'll pull it, refund, and make a better one. Or we'll say, we don't want to make this. It's too risky. Yeah. We've done that. Yeah. Wiring harnesses. We used to make harnesses, and I said, I'm not doing this shit anymore.
Yeah, that I definitely don't blame you. I did want to ask you on the handbrake though, because I noticed something in the description about the Willwood Masters and stuff, how you don't use those. So you said they were meant for more foot pressure. Is that along the same lines of what you were talking about, the whole J thing?
Oh, and I also didn't cover how we made our handbrake serviceable. Sorry about that. Well, yeah, to backtrack some, our handbrake is now serviceable from the top. It's a bolt and you can tighten it and it has a torque spec. So over time, if it shimmies, it's all really strong, perfect tolerance. And then if it shimmies, you just tighten it to spec. It's 13 foot-pounds. So I forgot to finish that part.
Well, yeah.
So you were saying the Willwood, we said in what with the gold handbrake description?
So I think it was the gold one.
Okay.
But like a Willwood is meant for foot pressure. So your leg is twice as strong as your arm. So why would you want to use one that's made for something that needs more pressure when you have to use a weaker limb?
Yeah, no, I can answer that. So it's actually all ratio based. So we make a dual piston brake booster Elite. It's our top seller. It's the best product we've ever made. Manual brakes create extreme consistency, drifting and road racing. Like it'll make your lap times faster. It'll make you a better drifter. Like manual brakes are the way to go if it's set up properly. And it's ratio and cylinder based, right? So I'm talking about, I know you're talking about handbrakes, but I'm getting there. So the 1-inch master cylinder, and a 6-to-1 pedal ratio on the foot brake. So that creates more leverage, because without the power booster, you just have raw braking, which is to its benefit because you get it every time. It's exactly the same. Yeah. With power brakes, it changes every time. So like if you push the brakes 1 inch down, sometimes it's 1,000 PSI. If you do it again, the next time it could be 500. Yeah. It's just variable because it's vacuum assist. So that's why manual brakes are great. So that's established. So you have to have more leverage with manual brakes to push a master cylinder that needs to put the clamping force at your calipers, right? Mm-hmm. So we make an adapter that adapts the stock ratio, which in most chassis is 4-to-1. So 4-to-1 ratio. And if you want to put it in the description, I'll tell people how to measure ratio. It's really simple. It's just the leverage that you're putting on the cylinder. And we rise it up to be 6-to-1 to create that leverage. So with handbrakes, we do a 10-to-1 ratio. And that makes the math. So when you do master cylinders still matter. Like we use a 3/4 master cylinder for our handbrakes, and it works for everything. So if you have 1 piston calipers or 6 piston calipers, which I don't know why you would, but some people do. So it doesn't matter.
That's fucking wild, bro.
Yeah. So I have cars that have 4 piston rear. I have cars that have 1 piston rear that are inline, which is not the same amount of force. They all lock up almost in the same amount of time. It's ratio and cylinder based more so than piston size of the calipers. Okay. So premium top level braking with a 1-inch master cylinder and your foot brake is 6-to-1. That's great. It feels great. Yeah. The car stops. It's just such a good feel. 10-to-1 is what we do, and that's we have that on our site. But it's something that
interesting because most people don't talk about that.
Well, it's technical, and most people keep that stuff close to the vest. Another big thing is pads. So you have to get a non-OE compound pad, and that goes for manual brakes too. OE compound pads like AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts, they're horrible. They're not good pads. All they do is when you push a power booster, it puts 2,000 PSI, which is max force, against them, and it forces them to brake, right? So when you remove all these assists, you get raw braking, which is awesome because you can control it. Yeah. But the stock pad does not work. So our number one complaint with our manual brake kit is my brakes don't work. It feels like I'm hitting a brick wall, or it feels like a brick wall. I can't get it to stop. I say change your pads to a Hawk HP Plus, which is
holy shit. Right.
And then I'm opening a lot of things here, and again, I'll cover them. So Hawk HP Plus has the best cold bite. So for a street car, you want cold bite. So a lot of people will get the highest level pads, like a DTC 60 or 70, and you have to be 250 degrees to get those pads to work. So they're the same as an AutoZone pad on street driving. So 99% of the time when people are like, I don't like my brake booster Elite or my manual brake setup, it's because their pads are wrong. And assuming that the ratio in the master cylinder is correct. Yeah. So we do that, and they're like, okay, cool. I did not understand that a pad made that big of a difference. Like, yeah, dude, everything
matters. I would have never known that. That's insane.
With handbrakes, it's the same way. So you can use a Willwood. We used to use Willwood. We've switched to Tilton because it's a higher quality product, and we want to be the best. So we switched to Tilton. It's also more compact. So a Willwood is about this long. Tilton's about this long. Oh, the Willwood single piston is the same length as our dual piston. Okay. So technology has improved. Like you can make it smaller. You always want to be, as compact as possible. It makes everything else easier. So Handbrake's the same thing. We do a 10-to-1 ratio, 3/4 master cylinder, and the pads matter. You have to get good pads. And, a lot of companies that are making the kits, they include really bad pads. And so it's really frustrating because I wish I could just sit here and talk to everybody all day and solve their problems for them. And we try to do like our Tech Tuesdays where we say this stuff. Because, dude, like you said, you're like, dang, I never thought about that. Like, I didn't think it was that important because logically it seems like it should work fine.
Oh, dude, whenever I was trying to get my fuel pressure sorted out, when I got that regulator, I couldn't get it figured out. We couldn't get it to go below like 43 PSI or something on the regulator. And so we were trying to figure it out. Jay did some research, found out that whenever you do because Z's don't come with a return line. So you got to do that little conversion on the pump and all of that stuff. But there's this little piece that goes down into the bottom of the pump.
Restrictor, yeah.
Yeah, that you have to pull out. You got to drill out just a little bit bigger if you're running a bigger size pump. And I was like, bro, what the fuck? How would anyone ever know that?
I know. Yeah, well, it's like you'd have to buy like the CJM kit that makes, I think
that's the kit that I have. Okay. And
did they not cover it?
Dude, I read the entire description at the time, which was 3 years ago when I bought it. So maybe it's changed now, but no, I never saw anything about that on there. I watched 20 different videos on people doing this, putting that line in. I was like, oh, this is easy as fuck. Okay, cool. And I did it all, started right up. Whenever I finally got it started, I thought everything was fine. But no.
It could have been one of those things too. It happens to us sometimes. We try to be better about it. But like when you develop a product, you work on it for about a year and stuff becomes so common knowledge that you forget to tell the customers.
Yeah.
Because you've dealt like when we develop a product now, especially that we've had 15 years of experience and certain failures and stuff, like we really, like we have third parties like test our strength and all that stuff. So you spend so much time with that you're like, dude, there's been so many details. Like we got to put all this in the description and then we have another PDF and then there's this other install guide on YouTube and you cover more and more each time. So it probably is one of those things where they're like, that's so obvious to us that we're not going to put it out there. It's a great example of like how somebody could probably have negative feedback over that. Like this thing sucks. I can't get fuel pressure out of it,
Yeah.
Sometimes it's spring pressure too. Like, the amount of pressure, and this is your situation, like the amount of pressure that the fuel pump is outputting is plenty for a stock setup. And even with an aftermarket one, it just doesn't allow because of line size or certain restrictions. And then there's not enough resolution in that spring inside the FPR to go down below 40 PSI or something. And so so many variables, man. This shit's hard.
Dude, it's annoying.
It really is.
It's fucking annoying.
And I have no, I have a favorite chassis for drifting and track. But I love all these cars. Like I have a Corvette, I have an E36 46, I have S13, I have an S15, I have an BRZ, I've got S2000.
Yeah, we never did go over your actual cars and shit. But.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly it's all the popular chassis because we can make products for it, But I love them all, So I have, but exactly. Each one has its own like college course of like information that you have to learn, like all the idiosyncrasies, and some stuff starts to transfer over. You're like, every returnless system is gonna have something that restricts that pressure. So I need to get a radium kit or find it and get rid of it or something. But yeah, man, it's this shit's hard, dude. It's so frustrating. We had such a rough year this year too because we just had so many. Like we have Brian and Mike Mediat, who's been on an FD team, and myself, we've all been around like hundreds of cars, and I've dealt with more on our products. So we have zero problems, but like I've seen more builds happen than like a lot of people within the industry, and because we're so hands-on, because some companies are just like, here's your product, and then like they just care about content or something, but like we're involved. But we still ran into shit, It's like, man, it just sucks.
Just can't catch a fucking break,
We
dude.
just didn't think of that,
Yeah.
So did I answer your question on the handbrake stuff?
Oh yeah, no,
okay.
you're
that's
good.
That's so pivotal, dude. If I could give one piece of advice to everybody on the handbrakes, it's like if you run ours, you should run ours. But if you don't, that's okay. Make sure that ratio, measure it. Make sure the ratio is around 10-1. 11 and 9-1 would be fine too.
Mine's always locked up really well. It is a Willwood, but I didn't know the math behind it. So
well, the cylinders.
I know the cylinders pretty
Well, yeah, the cylinder puts out pressure. It's fine. I mean, Willwood's approved. We used to use Willwood. But they do, PBM's smart. They do a good job. I think yours probably has the right ratio.
It feels like from day one, like I barely have to pull on it, and it locks like crazy.
They had the same problem that we had. They had I think they started using bearings, and their bearings snapped, and it caused the handle to snap. Because I started seeing posts of like this PBM shit. So I called up Dan. I'm like, dude, we understand.
You're not alone, buddy.
Yeah. I'm competitive, but not like that. Like, we're cool. We use their products and stuff. But yeah, dude, the bearings are the way to go. Just got to make sure they're strong.
Yeah.
And I was going to mention that. So most companies, and like even one of the most, I think we're the top selling handbrake, but a lot of FD guys, they run this. I'm not going to say it, but they run one of the most popular handbrakes. It uses a Willwood foot brake base. So it's flipped upside down. That's always, like, if you look at so many companies, like, look, it's a Willwood cast base that they put the master cylinder on and they build just the handle. And the mechanisms between that. It's the wrong ratio. That's why so many people have problems, because the OG, like the original, like one of the first handbrakes that was marketed toward drifting was that one. And that's what they did. And so everybody else followed suit. And then before we made a handbrake, I drove my friend's
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. It's a 3-letter word. Well, it's an acronym. But it works fine.
Dun, dun.
Yeah, clip that out. But it's okay.
You can.
But I drove an LS240 and it was so hard to pull.
Wow.
And then I looked and I was like, well, that doesn't look right. That's a big gap. And I measured it. I'm like, dude, this is a 6.5 to 1 ratio. Like, you don't have the leverage. And it was an inline setup too. So I'm like, you don't have the leverage. And it's your hand. Like, it's not as strong as your leg. Like, this is wrong. So immediately I was like, we got to make a handbrake.
That's crazy.
Yeah. When our first handbrake
now you motherfuckers know.
Yeah.
So if you have someone with a lousy handbrake, go tell them.
Yeah. Here's how to solve it. Because I was saying this a second ago. Make sure the handle ratio is good. 9, 10, or 11 to 1. Make sure their master cylinder size is right. 5/8 is fine, but 3/4 is the way to go. If the ratio is in that, and then pads, make sure you have Hawk, HP Plus, or equivalent. Like Project Mu, I think is NSC, EBC Yellow, and that's all I really know on those are the most popular pads. But yeah, Hawk, HP Plus, cold bite. It's all about cold bite.
Yeah,
people buy race pads for their handbrakes, thinking like, oh, these are the best. They have the best bite. No, dude, those only have bite at 250 degrees and higher. You want cold bite. So if you look at a graph, it'll be like DTC 70s will like start out, they have no bite, and it goes up here. That has bite until 500 degrees. And the Hawk HP Plus has the most cold bite, and it kind of goes down. But we'll never boil brake fluid in the drift car.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? No. So it's like cold bite's the way to go.
You're not running a lap long enough to do so unless you're hot lapping at a fun event. But
yep. So that's
your own problem.
Right.
That's operator error.
That'll solve so many people's problems.
Oh yeah. Well, that'll probably end up a reel.
Yeah. Okay.
That's some pretty good info.
Yeah. I'm cool. Dude, we do it even, it's like, of course we want everybody to run our products, but like, dude, I've done so much to help push drifting in a positive way. Like, and I don't profit from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like so much stuff with Mid-Pond, and, yeah, it's just, I just want the sport to grow. So even if you don't run our products, like I want your car to work. You know what I mean?
Well, actually, how did you get involved with Enjuku? Did you so they just sell your parts?
Yeah. So I've met a couple of them at events, but yeah, I don't know who reached out, but they were one of our first dealers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we didn't really have a dealer program. So we were big into Hondas, still are, but that was kind of most of what we did. So Hybrid Racing is a big K-swap group. So they were a dealer for all of our Honda stuff. And then I was getting really strong into the 240 stuff. We had a power steering kit that was solving problems, and all of our brake line kits. Like we were the first people to make any like ABS delete or brake line kit or anything like that for Honda's 240s. First clutch lines, first power steering kit, still the only power steering kit for most stuff.
Yeah.
So I think maybe I reached out, maybe they reached out, but they're just like, hey, we want to be a dealer for your products. Or
that's sick. Do you tend to see like different products do better on dealer accounts than on like you personally, or is it normally pretty the same?
No, it's about the same. Sorry, my leg's falling asleep. I'm in the crease of the couch, about to fall in.
Sucks you right in.
Yep. So, all right, we're good. So What was the question? Oh yeah. No, it's all the same. I mean, sometimes they don't put certain products on their site. Like they just are slow to it. Like once they initially put the products on the site, we've fixed it. Like you have to have all of our products or else you're out. But like,
that's fair.
I didn't have as much time to manage it, so it was like, so, it's they sell the same shit we do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's cool. I was just curious how that relationship sparks. Does it normally help the reach of people whenever you sign up with distributors?
Yeah.
Like exponentially?
Yeah,
normally?
It does. Because, the traditional business model is like we focus on development, like an older school. Now it's like so much B2C, like, or, straight to consumer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it helps because they have access to a market that we're getting into or that we don't have access to. So we've always tried to find the biggest one and then sell to them, like ECS and Bimmer World for like BMWs and CA tuned. And then Enjuku is obviously still like kings of the 240 and drifting and all that. Hybrid racing, great.
I just always find it interesting because people will go different routes in that aspect. So
yeah, it helps, man. It's the way to go. And like I was saying, the older business model was you focus on operations and getting the product in the door.
Let somebody else distribute it.
And then they focus on marketing and sales.
That's what Link does. So
Link, Link.
They don't sell their own stuff. So it's all just sold by distributors.
That's right.
So I've picked their brain a little bit, but not enough to like really understand. But I'm always curious for the other side of it too, why people choose to do it that way versus the other way. If they love the marketing side of it, and that's normally what their reason is, they just kind of like that aspect of business. But it's interesting for people that are trying to do it.
I think it helped us a lot, man. And we've worked with Enjuku for, I want to say like 10 years.
Yeah.
They've been
around for so long.
They, I've been down there before just once, but I think 2001 is when they got started.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They're awesome, man. They're killing it. It's hard to run a business that long, especially a retailer, And there was a time too where it was really where like drop shipping became such a big thing. And then out of nowhere, there were so many retailers that stocked nothing and then would just drop ship. Right.
Yeah.
But it was a problem for us because we started working with them because it was all a facade. You're like, dude, this company is huge. They're doing all this stuff. There's stickers here and here and here. It's a dude in his apartment, just like sending purchase orders. And then, of course, it was one of those things where like we're all just doing it for the first time. We didn't know to ask the right questions that like bigger box stores would know to ask. Yeah. And the problem is that the customer would come to them and ask them questions and they would over or undersell your product. So either they didn't know all the features or they would say to get the sell, they'd be like, oh yeah, it does that, or it doesn't do that, or whatever it was. And then they're pissed.
Bullshit.
Right. And then you go, hey, why'd you tell them that? And they go, I didn't, it's your fault. So Enjuku had to weather that.
Damn, I've never thought about that part of it.
Dude,
I used to be so interested in drop shipping, just like how it worked. I wanted to try it, but I was more interested in content. But
yeah, dude,
that's funny to hear.
It's like a meme joke now. It's like my drop shipping business,
Yeah, like, okay, whatever.
I got rich from my drop shipping business. Well, they had their moment, and Enjuku had to weather that storm, because they drop ship a ton. I mean, everybody does, but they would do like stocking orders, because it makes sense for them too. Because instead of sending all these POs and doing all this administrative work, they have their own warehouse. Somebody buys some ISR stuff, they buy some Sicky stuff and some Chase based stuff, and they just ship it out in one box.
So you do house parts at their warehouse?
Yeah, we require our dealers to do stocking orders. And we're about to, we finally locked in a deal with the biggest automotive distributor where they're going to sell our products. So it's going to take off like a rocket ship.
I assume you can't spill that yet.
No, it's okay. Yeah. It's if people can guess, but it won't be.
Yeah, but go ahead and drop your guess in the comments then.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be 2024 is going to be an awesome year.
Awesome,
and it's just an honor that they even seeked us out and they go through so much due diligence, like asking the right questions and stuff. Like they've been doing this shit for so long, they've grilled us. And then
I need to take some pointers from them then.
Dude, listen to this too. So they call people like Enjuku and they say, hey, you're a dealer. What do you buy the product for? And then they'll say what they do. Yeah. We had a dealer who we just had to drop who lied to them because what happens, dude, you're
again, motherfucker, man.
So if you sell to a if you sell to a dealer, that's what this distributor has to buy it for, or that's what they have to sell it for. Because if a dealer is selling or is getting it for less, then they can't meet that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, let's just say a company's buying at 20%. This giant distributor we're talking about, they have to sell it at 20%. But if you sell to this one guy for 30%, they go, oh, we have to sell it for 30% because we have to be the top dog because we are the top dog. So it's just like a cutthroat business way of being the biggest in the room. And it's right. I mean, it's fair. And so they call all the people that have Chase-based products currently because they go with us and they say, what do you sell for? What's the most you've ever sold for? Blah, 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 blah. Like they grill you. And then, I don't know. I don't think I'll get in trouble for saying any of this, but whatever. It'll be all right.
You can ask and we can cut it out if you need to.
It's fine. But yeah, they called one. I just know people love drama, so here's some drama. So they called one. I won't name them, but they called one of our dealers, and they said, "Oh, we buy at 35%," which is a lie, because they were trying to wreck our deal with this distributor because they wanted to have priority. Because they moved decent volume, you know, but it was just like a low energy thing to do.
That seems shady as fuck.
Oh yeah. Well, they told us. They said, "Hey, we think this isn't true because this person is known for, you know, skewing the truth a little bit. But have you sold to this company for 35% or whatever it was?"
Yeah.
And we said, "No, that's not true." And they go, "Okay, cool."
That's what we thought.
Yeah. And then you know, my guy Ricky, he said, "Who did that?" He goes, "I'll tell you. It was, you know, blank."
Yeah.
And we said, "Cool." And so we had to find a crafty way to say that happened, but yeah. So they're no longer a dealer for us, and they're blacklisted for the new distribution too. So they screwed themselves. So let this be a lesson,
dude.
Don't lie. Your mom was right.
Yeah.
Because if you do one lie, you have to keep lying.
Yeah, and it gets too exhausting trying to keep that shit up.
Yeah, well,
Good luck, dude.
It's stupid. Like this rocket ship's taking off. You know what I mean? Like we're going. Like, why would you try? That's such a low energy thing to do, to try to block somebody like that. You know what I mean? I think a lot of business owners get that, like the cliche Hollywood mentality where they're like overly cutthroat. They have to be an asshole boss. They have to like fuck people over and all that. All that is a myth. Being. That is a myth, dude. It is a total myth. Like, who's the biggest entrepreneur in the world? Like Elon Musk.
Yeah,
that dude is
literally who else.
That dude's only an asshole because he sticks to his vision, right? So his designers might see him as an asshole because he goes, "No, I'm not compromising. We're doing it this way," you know. But that's not screwing anybody over. That's expecting excellence. Yeah. That's not a bad person trait. But yeah, I remember, you know, originally managing people. I'm like, how do you do this? Because I only know like the Ari Gold and like Entourage, or like the total asshole. You know what I mean? Like, have it by no matter what. That's just a myth, dude. It just especially these days, it doesn't work. So I think a lot of business owners think they're doing that. They're like House of Cards type shit. Like, oh yeah, I'll block them and then I'll just double down and sell more of their stuff because there's obviously hype for it, and they'll never find out. It's like, no, dude, you're writing your own death certificate.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's all through. You got to be a good leader. You know, you got to be kind.
Oh yeah. Media, it's a little weird because everyone's needs are so unique. It's like,
especially
every time someone asks me for a price, I'm like, here, I'll give you a ballpark price of what a package would cost. Just this amount of videos, this amount of time.
Yeah.
Boom. That's what the average would be. Obviously, we got to talk a little bit more. And then we can kind of discuss the finer details, what quality of video, how much editing I'm going to be doing to it, all that stuff. And then you get a real price. Yeah. But like, there's not a single client that I've had that's had the exact same price for their specific stuff, just because there's so many little details
it's one
that need to be
it's bespoke.
Yeah. And you want your stuff to be unique anyways. So whatever your goal is, whatever your vision, let's make it happen. But it'll cost you whatever your vision is. Right. So, you know, but yeah, that's an important thing I see in a lot of businesses. I try and take note on. So not much, actually. We'll just do.
What are we at? Time?
The last two. 2 hours.
Dang, that flew by.
Yeah, it always does. Koru was 3, damn near 3 hours.
Let's talk about Mid-Pond.
Oh shit!
Can we talk about that?
Yeah. I have 2 questions after that, which is
okay.
The one that's in every podcast.
Okay,
but yeah. So Yeah, mid pond. Tell me your story of mid pond.
Okay, this is the realest story you'll ever hear. So me, Brandon Bass, and Kudrow Bailey, those are 3 people in Birmingham that we used to go drifting. So I had a place and a shop in West End, Birmingham, and we had a huge parking lot and we'd go drift. And we briefly did something called Still City Drift and just had small events, you know, like, again, I really want drifting to grow and I really wanted it to grow in Alabama, which worked in a weird way because 2 great tracks are now in Alabama, about to be 3.
Yeah. Oddly enough.
So yeah, it was all like free. It was a free event and I did donations accepted and, you know, got a good bit. It just covered the bills. Yeah. But we were like, this isn't good enough. You know, the parking lot was falling apart and I wanted, like, much like my product and everything we do, we want it to be good. We want it to be great. Yeah. So we found, Kudrow said, dude, there's this old kart track in Columbiana and I think we should try, you know, I asked him before and he said, no, maybe you have more weight. Why don't you ask him? Yeah. So it was a gentleman named Randy Visser. So he owns tons of dealerships in Birmingham or in the Birmingham area. Okay. And he owned the property and his family would just go hang out on it. And it happened to have a kart track on it. But this kart track was like, everybody down there knew about it. A lot of people would race go-karts there. It wasn't like a amusement park. It was like a true, like fast go-karts. Yeah. I mean, you know, so
shifter carts and stuff,
shifter carts, right? Yeah. And they actually closed down because of an insurance problem because somebody, you know, the trees are pretty close at Mid Pond. Yeah. And those, like, they go faster than our drift cars. And so somebody broke their back and so they shut it down. So I called them and I said, dude, I'm this person. We're legitimate. I have a legitimate business. I've actually bought a car from you at one of your dealerships. Can we drift? I'll cover everything. Yeah. You don't have to worry about anything. It will not degrade. It'll be the exact same place, blah, blah, blah. He said, no. So I called him again a week later and I said, we really want to do this. I drove by again. I'm really excited about it. Why don't you let me come out there and show you what we're about? And so he said, all right, fine. So there was actually a situation, this is public information, but he was involved in a fraud situation where he lied about the incentives from Nissan.
Oh, wow.
And then Nissan like made him sell the dealership and they like fined him. He had to do like 200 hours of community service. So I think this was at that same time. And so I think he was like, all right, this is a good avenue for me to kind of patch my debts and all that. And you know, ultimately, he's not a bad person. I don't mean that. He's just, their incentives were arbitrary and he just tried to sneak around it. It's not cool, but it's like, that's just how it goes. They made him do it basically. So that lucked out for us that had happened. And so me, Chris Ward, Johnny Profit and Mike Elsey went out there and Matt Bruick, if you remember him. Is he's still active, right?
I think so.
Okay. Well, so we all went out there and we drifted. Dude, the place was beautiful. The asphalt was perfect. Grass was perfectly cut. I bet it was back then. Dude, there was not all this junk that's all everywhere. Like it was all, imagine nothing there and there's not a single dip or broken piece of asphalt. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. No I was the first person to ever drift on Mid Pond because it's like, I was out there, dude. They're all like getting their car set up. I'm ready, dude. And I stayed up late and worked to make sure my car was perfectly set up. Dude, I was out there ripping for like 10 laps before they went out there. And so we figured it out. We went the normal way and we were out there tandeming all day and there's plenty of video of it. If you go back, this was 2016, I think, September 2016, I believe. Okay. So I had a blue 350Z at the time, like seat time type car. Yeah. And we went out there and had fun. We drove it reverse, shitloads of fun. I love it reverse way more.
I haven't gotten to drive it reverse, dude, sadly.
It's twice as fast. It's a little more talent. Takes a little more talent.
Cool.
And do that. And you have to be kind of advanced too, because there's one before the pond turn before that, you really pick up speed and people will go off and hit the tree. Yeah, it's before the sweeper. Pits? No, so it's like if you go, the horseshoe right in the middle. Yeah. So after you go around that and then you go through the tiny bend, I don't know what turns we call them. but yeah, that
The
right
sweeper
there.
around the pond to the hairpin to the sweeper to the middle hairpin.
Right. So imagine that
Reverse.
backwards. So hairpin going towards the little U-turn that goes before the pond turn.
Yeah.
So that straight goes right. Like if you're standing at that fence, that one turn to the right of the pond, they go straight into the trees if you're not careful. I'm sure plenty of people have done it. So we convinced him, and he was so stoked. He hopped in one of our cars, loved it, because he's kind of a motorsports guy.
Yeah.
You know, not like us, but he likes it. I mean, he sells cars for a living. So he loved it. And so Sebastian, who's at Cora Works now, he's thought of the name Mid Pond, and because it's Middle Alabama and there's a pond there, so he thought of Mid Pond. Everybody fought over that. I immediately bought Mid Pond, midpondcircuit.com. I made a Google place for it, and I built the website. So midpond.com, I still own it, and I made all of that. It's Ken uses it now, but it's cool. It's his. But yeah, I made all that like immediately. So I and then iTrack ran the first event that was there. It was fun. And then Matt pissed Randy off because he wanted East 10 Drift wanted to have an event.
Okay.
And then Randy told Matt that, and Matt said, "No, I have claim on this. Like I'm the only one that can run events." And Randy said,
"What?
No." So he kicked him out, and then so we kind of ran our own events for a long time.
Damn.
And that was where we like really built up, Mid Pond, and I loved it, man, because we kept really good care of it, and nobody did standing burnouts, and dirt drops were banned and all that. And if you did, you stayed in. There's like respect for the place, because it's thin. It's not thick asphalt. It's not like Driven Luck did a good job. They did like I think 224, so like two gravel, and then
and they all did it themselves and shit too.
Yeah.
Other than pouring.
Well, dad has their dad. I can't think of his name right now. I went up there with him. But yeah, he was in civil engineering and worked for the government, so he knew what to do. Yeah.
I love those guys. They're so cool.
They're what a blessing that place is.
I need to go.
So yeah, everybody support them because the more money, because they're going to reinvest everything. So the sooner you do that, the sooner we'll get a concrete paddock or asphalt or whatever they do.
They got K-rails and everything already set up. Like from where they were on that first event, because he's been talking to me throughout this whole process.
Yeah, I know he was on it.
Yeah, because I met him years ago at MIR.
Okay.
At a Stupid Cold event. And yeah, he's just been talking to me throughout the whole process when he got the idea of the track, when they started doing it. And like, that's the style of track that I want to drive all the time. So I've already told him, anytime I need to come test the car, you're the guy.
Well, that's what they want to do.
Whatever you need.
They want to be like Japan, because the cool part about Japan is that it's like a skate park. You just go, you pay your fee, and then you go drive. You don't have to wait for an event.
Yeah.
You just go, I'm ready today, And then if they have one customer that day, cool. If not, that's fine. Yeah. That's what they want to be, which is awesome. And Mid Pond's, I think, a little bit that way. So yeah, Mid Pond was just a shit for a while, and man, it really felt like something awesome. And then Ken got involved. Randy banned drifting, and then Ken got involved. So there was like a period of like 6 months. I don't even know why or how Ken got involved. He worked at like an Advanced Auto Parts. He's a good guy, but he just wanted to be around motorsports, And so he called me first, because everybody told him like, Chase is the guy that made it happen. Like, call him. Yeah. So he said, man, I want this to be successful. What do I do? And I said, all right, this is a driver only place, and we could never really have good spectators, and I'm not comfortable with people parking on the street because it's so steep.
Yeah,
they slide down. It's unsafe as fuck. People go so fast on that road. Rolando almost died because he got T-boned leaving. Did you hear about that? Yeah. Okay, dude, he got knocked out. They had to take him to the hospital. So I said, there's 3 things you need to do. I said, one, we ran a survey. You have enough property line on the right side of the track to where spectators can pull on the right, hug the edge of the pits, and then there can be a gravel road down there, and you have tons of property in the back until it goes up in a mountain. And there's a creek back there, but I literally sat down with civil engineers, and we said, this is our sketch. So I said, I have a sketch for it because we want to make it happen.
So they already have the room to expand a little bit for parking.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm not trying to disparage anybody right now. I'm just being honest.
Because that's always been one of the questions I've had, and everyone's like, well, we're restricted because we can't get we can't buy the land around us.
Well, sure. I mean, I don't remember the exact acreage, but it's like 24 acres, I think. But yeah, it can work. All you need to do is lay down gravel. And so I said, we've planned that. And I said, here's a quote. And he said, okay, cool. And I said, we also, paint stripes, because the problem was that if you had like 30 drivers, you're stressed, your car is heating up, you pull in really fast. If you just have lines, people follow the law a little bit better. And then, parking the trailers in the back. The rule was, there were certain places where you could patch, like cut out and reinforce where it was going to be weak points, because you could follow along. Like a good civil engineer can see like floodplains and stuff. It's obviously on a horrible floodplain, but there's certain parts of the track that started sinking because those are softer spots. So right after the pond turn, the very back straight, and then in the middle of the pond. So if you just cut out there, and there, the place will last twice as long. So it was 1, the spectator parking; 2, the civil engineering, the specific weak points of the track; and then 3 was just a safety thing, because you're on such a steep hill, you have to have a spotter, because it's only a matter of time before somebody gets hit. And so you have spectator parking, and then also you would do trailer parking over there, and then all the cars can park. If you just do that, you'll be wildly successful.
Crazy.
And it was such a light, because it's incredible, man. The vibe is just great.
Yeah, because they know I rant and rave about Mid Pond. I fucking love it there. It's one of my favorite tracks in the South. Yeah, if not the entire country. I don't know. I haven't driven enough tracks to decide that, but
no,
I will always rant and rave about Mid Pond.
It's something else, man. Something about the layout.
Some improvements.
Yeah. Well, I'll end it there. I stopped going to Mid Pond because we worked so hard to make it great, and it just declined. And you really have to take care of a track.
It's funny, because almost everyone has that hometown track that's like that. For me, it's Clarksville. Okay. Like, Clarksville's been the exact same the entire time I've been in drifting. Yeah. They try and work with little aspects. Oh, Jasper finally decided to come on the podcast.
Come on up here, Jasper.
They finally started doing like different things to the events themselves, but they won't.
That's all good.
Goober. They won't change anything to the track itself. They have a whole gravel like lot that they could expand and put more concrete down and run different layouts and all of this stuff. But like, it's in the middle of a town too, so they're kind of restricted on sound ordinance and stuff like that. So they don't want to
ruins everything.
They don't want to expand too much. Yeah. So I get that part, but all they're doing is focusing on little tiny aspects of the event, and like the price just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. It's like, okay, well, I could drive this track with my eyes closed. Nothing's going to change, obviously, anytime soon. I'm not even going to put K-rails up for like real K-rails, barriers, so that you can get close to it.
I have to take this call.
Oh, yeah, you're good. Yeah. Go for it.
We can take a break.
Clarksville, I could drive that track with my eyes closed, basically. They're not doing anything to improve the way you can drive and shit. So, like, I just don't really care to go back much. I mean, I've got good buddies up there that run the events, and I love them to death, but there's so many more interesting tracks that I haven't driven yet that I want to. And Driven Luck is literally an hour and a half away.
Dude, what a great
Clarksville's
thing.
The same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, not much of a comparison there. I'd rather go to Driven Luck.
Yeah. So that's what it is. It's like, Ken's great, man. Everybody's great. And you know what? People love going to Mid Pond. It's got such a vibe to it. I just want progress. I always try to make things better. Like if you buy a car, I'm going to make it better. If you buy a house, we're going to make it better. It's not going to be worse when we're done with it. And so, stuff wears and tears, but there's like, if you strategically think through things, like, I'm not going to take no for an answer. How can we have spectator parking? It goes right there. I drew the map. And, Little Talladega, which not the Drift Mansion, but the TGPR in Talladega, like actually next to the big Talladega. So they have their entrance to the track runs over the track. So they have to wait for the track to go cold to let people in. That's perfectly fine. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's perfectly fine. Yeah. So if mid pond, the gravel road to the paddock or to the spectator parking, the track needs to be cold, because if a car ran off, it could hit a car. That's fine. That's not a reason to say no. There's so many tracks like that.
Yeah.
I mean, most racetracks are not, you can't get into the infield without the track being cold. I mean, there's so many examples. So it's like, that's not
really all you got to worry about that is in the morning.
Yeah, dude, the track goes cold all the time.
Someone that comes through in the middle of the day, just, okay, there's a break in the track. Someone just hit somebody. Okay, we got a few seconds. Run them down. Go, 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 go.
Exactly.
It's so easy. And I think they will be pushed into that now that Driven Luck is around, because that's such a good track that people have been wanting for so long. And especially with how Alabama is so scarce on tracks.
Yeah.
Like, dude, here within 4 hours, I can make it to like 10 different tracks.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
like, I'm spoiled as shit, but I know Alabama is not. So now that they're gonna start getting some people drug away from Mid Pond to go to Driven Luck, they're gonna start needing to make the changes to keep going.
We'll see
if they're willing.
We'll see. Yeah. I love that it's there, and I love that it's helping grow the sport. I'm really. It's all good. Look at you. You have dandruff. You need to take care of that. Head and Shoulders works great for me. It should work for you.
Yeah, there you go.
So not a Head and Shoulders ad. I have
we are not sponsored.
Yeah, no affiliation. We'll take it though. So I need things to go. Like I'm not a control freak, but I just want things to go a certain way, and I want. We can fuck up, we can screw up, we can lose our momentum, but we have to move forward. And so it's really frustrating when I worked. I poured a lot of money into that place. Like I poured a lot of time into that place.
Yeah.
And it was just, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It was a little heartbreaking just to see it kind of.
I was going to say, decline. It probably ate your soul a little bit.
Yep. And I see so many people, others. And there was a couple such, you get your feelings hurt a little bit because, other people are like super hype on it and they don't know. This is an ego thing, but like they don't know how hard I work to make it happen. They don't know like how much I had to try to get them to let us drift there in the first place.
Yeah.
And so that's personal. That's not business or anything. That's just how I feel. And it's just a bummer to see that it's kind of declined a little bit. And I would love. You just can't help to want to fix it. But there's just they're gonna do it or they're not. I love that it's there. I hope anything that I said didn't come off wrong or anything. I'm glad it's there.
Constructive criticism.
Yeah.
If they can't take it, it's their own problem.
Right.
So
yeah. And it's cool. They can work together well. Driven Luck and Mid Pond, they probably shouldn't have events on the same day.
Yeah.
There's plenty of weekends in the year. And I don't know. I mean, I think two tracks can survive. I don't think there's like a competition thing. I'm trying to build my own track. We had it was called McMaster Motorsports Park, like blew up online for a few days there. We were going to build it in Trussville. The city was approved. Everything was good. But then the locals rioted, and not actually, but they went up and picketed and told the council they were all clowns and stuff. And then everything was hunky dory when I had the profit numbers in their eyes and, all the growth numbers, because Barber is down the street from us and it's been incredible. It's built an entire city around it and the locals are complaining about the noise. And so it's like we met a huge stop in that because I was updating everybody on that.
Yeah.
And it was going to be twice the size of Mid Pond and Driven Luck. And it was going to be like an actual, it would have, like I even took turns, like my favorite turn at Abisu, my favorite turns at Mid Pond, my favorite turns at US Air. Like I merged kind all these tracks them all into one. And then added a couple straights and S's and stuff. And it would change like with the whatever land we bought. But yeah, I had it like approved and we were ready to go. Like I even had the money ready to go. And I know. And so everybody was like hype on it. And it was McMaster Motorsports Park. And then we said, okay, well, they said no. Like they were like, oh, we're reversing our decision. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll just go down the street. I kind of knew this. I kind of had a feeling this would happen, and I started getting bad instinct about it. So I don't want to have to face, the sound stuff. I want I want 15-year sound ordinance where I'm untouchable. Yeah. This is stamped, signed, and sealed by the mayor or governor or whoever,
Which
whatever.
Even then, like with what Cletus is dealing with, even then, it's still so hard to tell if that's even concrete, because
they can just change
as soon as people start coming in, more houses are developed, people could just how many fucking signatures do you need, or stuff like that.
You have to be the biggest fish. Barber brings in millions and millions of dollars because they have the Porsche series and Rolex series and all that there. I mean, you can't touch that. We're just a bunch of silly drifter guys. So we don't have, and I would do road racing stuff there, but We had it. We had an approval in a city called Odenville, and it was 800 acres, and it's cheap. So I was going to buy 800 acres and put it in the middle. And so you
just spread.
Yeah, it's like the clutch kickers. You got to own it, dude. You've got to own the city.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. At that point, it was big enough to where we could incorporate as a city, and it could be like McMaster, Alabama. And I'm like, all right, I need to calm down. This is getting out of control. But like, you could literally make your own city and appoint a mayor, and like, you know what I mean? Because there's smaller towns out there. It's 800 acres. So we were doing that, but then they wrote in a new council, and then they were like, we want you to start from scratch. Like, you have to present to us, because they were going to sign it, like, and then something happened. You know, like they voted them in. So I was like, okay, well, that's just bad luck. Then my wife and I had our son. And then the business, we owned the building that Chase Bays was in, and I had a huge, like, $200 million company come in and offer me a lot of money for it. So I didn't plan on selling it, but it was an incredible real estate deal, and I want to build that portfolio too. So we're like, all right, now we have to move. Yeah. So it's like, okay, it's back burner, track's back burner. And so it's still in there, and I still look at property all the time. And that's the key, I think, is just you buy like 800 acres and build it in the middle.
Yeah.
Because the money, we can still borrow. We can still, because what we would do is build Chase Bay's headquarters on it.
Of course. Yeah.
And so
change everything to there.
Yeah. And so that's where McMaster Motorsports Park is at, because I'm obviously frustrated. I like what Driven Luck is doing, but I'm just frustrated with what people do. And like, it's not, like you said, every
so
town,
uncontrollable.
Every town seems to have that. Yeah. They have the, I don't know what it is. I think it's hard to run a track, and progress is hard. I mean, my business eats me alive with how difficult it is. And I'm sure this podcast, it's difficult. There's always something that's going to go wrong.
This and a media company on top of it, it's rough.
Yep.
Yeah. So and I don't even take on that many clients.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're running events and it's a part-time gig, you're like, it works now and I make a decent chunk of change. I'm not going to change it, And the more you try to change and improve, the more problems you meet,
More stress. More all of it.
Yeah. Like, we come out with new products. I know there's problems ahead.
Yeah.
Like, just for us, I mean, of course, our R&D process.
Customer service, get ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we don't know how to install it. All this other stuff's common knowledge, but like, it's just, yep. So that's my Mid-Pond story, McMaster Motorsports Park story. So I think McMaster, I'm going to change it. It takes too long to say. I'm changing it to McMaster Circuit, but it'll happen one day. Yeah. I mean, it's so hard because in Japan, they've got so many incredible tracks, and they don't have the problem of neighbors. Japanese people accept that there's Suzuka or Scuba or a Bisu. Like, they accept that Bahoku is down the street from them. Yeah. They're okay with it. They're not like a sue happy country. They're not an entitled country. They have us beat when it comes to that kind of culture. Yeah. And I love America, but it sucks, man. Like, I shouldn't, Barber was in the middle of like thousands of acres. Yeah. And then the closest property got developed into a neighborhood, and they complain about it, And like, even the Cahaba River, the big river in Alabama is Cahaba River, and the Cahaba River Society like fights them all the time because like, your tire dust is ruining the fish. The fish
piss off.
The frogs are turning gay. It's happening. It's real.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it sucks, man. It's an unfortunate part. It's like, because that adds so much layer to the risk. Because like, you can build a track, you can invest $500,000 and have
you can do what Driven Luck did. Throw away your entire life to go chase this dream.
And that could shut you down.
And in 10 years, you're gonna get, or maybe less,
right,
shut down just because someone thinks it's too loud when they go to bed at 6 o'clock at night.
Right, freaking losers,
fucking pussies.
Yeah, I hate them.
Ugh.
I'm just kidding. I don't hate anybody, but I do strongly dislike them.
I was strongly dislike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right. Well, let's go on to some these last couple questions.
Okay.
Just some more positive things.
Yes.
So I wanted to incorporate another question at the end of every podcast.
Okay.
So with you drive an E36 mostly, correct?
Right? I drive the BRZ more.
The BRZ?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go with that then. So my idea is you have whatever the guest's car is, you have a bone stock version of your car.
Okay.
And you have $4,000. You're trying to get your car to the first track day.
Okay.
What parts and stuff are you going to prioritize? We're going to use Enjuku because presenting sponsor.
Okay.
So, $4,000 to spend on Enjuku's website. What parts are you going to prioritize to get your car to its first track day? You already own the car though.
Yeah. All right.
Bone stock.
You want to know brand or just can I generalize?
Just generalize is fine.
Okay.
I mean,
so chase-based handbrake.
Generalize. Make sure yours is specific.
Right. No, I was seeing if both ways could work, but definitely chase-based handbrake. And on the BRZ, you want the pull-up forward mount because it goes in the stock location. Reverse mount works good too. Not being specific, just
No, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. Those are different little quirks. That's why I said specific cars too. So.
Yep. So coilovers, and for BRZ, I'll say you want. I would go with a 10K front, 6K rear, even with the stock engine. So coilovers with proper spring rates. Definitely a seat. I think they sell. I really like Thrash and Bride seats. So go with a Bride or a Thrash if they sell it. Either or. You said 3 mods or what? $4,000.
$4,000.
Oh shoot. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's where it gets tricky because I'm trying to. There's a lot of very low budget new audience viewers.
Okay.
So
I've been there.
I want to cater to them.
I've been there.
More.
Weld the diff. You can weld a Torsen. You might have to get some of them are weird, but you might have to get an IS300 diff that plugs right in. So weld the diff because 2 ways too expensive. And it's not as streetable, but it's fine.
Yeah.
So weld the diff. That is not something you buy in Enjuku. Maybe you buy the welded plates from Enjuku. I think they make, somebody in there makes them, the little drop-in plates.
Yeah.
So buy that. Coilovers, I would do a Teen Flex Z. They have 8K front, 6K rear. They're not serviceable, but you're not going to run into that for a very long time. The dampening actually changes stuff. A lot of coilover companies are like a myth. Like the dampening doesn't actually work. It's just like a spring on a stock shock, basically. That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
Drifters, a lot of drifters have a lot to learn about dampening. So yeah, I'd get the Team Flex C because they're about $700, maybe $900. So those have a good enough spring rate to go rip.
You got the extra cost. Go to the BCs, of course. But
yeah, I don't know what those cost, but yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah. So where are we at? We'll call it we'll call it 1,200. I'm really taking this seriously. Bride seat, we'll just say with rails and everything, it's 1,000. And then so we're at 2,200, and then you want chase-based handbrake. That's $269.99. It's very specific. Dude, we got a ton of budget left. This ain't too bad.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
$4,000 is a good room to work with as far as parts go.
Well, then you're going to want...
You got to think of some tires, though.
Yep. Oh, wheels and tires. Yeah. Okay.
I wouldn't say wheels. You can get by with one pair of wheels.
Oh, yeah.
You just keep swapping them out as long as you got a tire machine somewhere.
Yep. Okay. So tires. Yeah. I mean, the stock tires would work fine, but yeah, what tires does Enjuku sell?
Well, they wouldn't. They don't think they sell tires.
Well, then let's just say 350 treadwear tires will be fine. You don't want anything stickier
first
than
event,
that.
you're only going to go through.
You want higher. You want like 500 treadwear.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do like a Falcon ZX or something. Yeah, they're like 100 a piece for that size. So let's just say you want to rip all day. So we'll say 400 plus 400. Is this too long-winded? Am I taking this too seriously?
No, you're good.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, this is cool.
All right, so you got handbrake, coilovers, tires, seat. You've welded the diff. You want a little extra power.
Yeah.
So, man, you know what? One of the best modifications you can do on a stock car is a diff, like your final gear. So it's like, I forget what they do. I think stock 240s are like 4.1 and people do like 4.8s or something.
Yeah.
Because it's like a power mod that's just not even there. But it's pretty hard to do. It's hard. It's like, if you're talking, we'll leave that out. But yeah, let's just do like intake and exhaust. So I'm sure ISR makes a good exhaust for it. So we'll call it 400.
Yep.
That's a good one. And then a good intake is probably 200 or so, plus 200. Yeah, you're at about $3,500. That's perfect because you're gonna want a good tune because you want to be able to push like eliminate traction control, or else you have to do the pedal dance or push those buttons,
Screw that
so that's it. ECU Tech and open flash are I think on Enjuku, and if not, I mean that's the only option that there is. For
that's
the
crazy
chassis. So that's perfect. It's like you got spare tires, like you said, handbrake, seat, weld the diff, get some decent power mods, and then be able to tune it to get, an extra 15, 20 horsepower, which is extremely valuable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then take
People don't realize, man, once you do the math on it, break it down. If you've got $4,000 to spend on a car you already have, you have a drift car.
That's right.
Easy peasy.
Yeah. And I think after that, I would really do a final gear, because a final gear, the key to a lot of drifting is keeping the RPMs up, which of course keeps the wheel speed up. And I notice a huge issue with people is that they will go in a second and bog down. The way that you don't do that is that you keep you close, you make the ratio closer. Yeah. And so if it's a fast part of the track, if you shift into third and your top speed is like 120 in third, you don't have the power to keep the wheel spinning. But if you can get a high ring gear and then pull that from like 120 to like 80 or 90 or something, then you're,
much more manageable.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a 6-speed too. And like a 350Z is 6-speed, this is 6-speed. So you got that 6 gears for highway cruising. So those are, like a 4.8 on a BRZ would be awesome. So it's like it's a torque. It basically, like, it's not measurable, but it improves your torque. So because that's the problem, you're like bogging down, right? So keep that. It's all wheel speed, So you keep the wheel speed up, you're good to go. Hit that limiter. Yeah. So I would make that after you spend your 4,000, you get a ton of seat time. I would really do a close, like a final ring gear next. Because when I had a 350Z, I did it almost in that exact order. Those are the mods I did. Applied to 350Z, and when I got the higher ring, the gear, man, it made it so awesome. I shifted into third at Mid-Pond, actually. It's usually like a second gear track. Yeah. So it's good too, because it gets you more technique. Because dude, there's people that have drifted for like 10 years and have never gone to third gear, because they always are drifting like speed small sports tracks. Or I don't know what's it called, Collinsville or Clarksville. Yeah. So that's it. That's what I do. There you go. You can almost apply that to any info, car.
Dude. Okay. That's really good info.
Oh, and then make sure you get those the colder pads in the rear.
So yeah.
And that's common anyways. Even when people keep stock handbrake, you want the better pads and shoes. So that's in the budget. They're like $100.
Get you an O-ring gasket kit too, or just a full engine gasket kit too.
Oh yeah.
So you can replace all the nitty gritty gaskets before you go out there.
That's right.
That'd be the only thing I'd add to that.
Okay.
But other than that, that was solid. And let me know if y'all want to do like a lower budget one, like you got $2,000, that's it, or something like that.
Hey man, I just did the math. You can get, if you just did half that without the power mods, you could have gotten to the track.
Oh yeah, easy.
Yeah. The seat, the handbrake, the welded diff, those are the keys.
Yeah.
And then people will even say you don't need a handbrake to drift. Blah blah. Hey, that's true. Don't skip the handbrake. Just do a seat and a welded diff. Go rip.
Mm-hmm.
Well, coilovers. You gotta have coilovers.
Yeah. Coilovers for sure. Yeah. Stock body cars drifting sucks.
No, that ain't. It's just a waste of your time.
All right. Well, the last main question is best advice for just anyone getting into drifting, like usual.
Phew. I saw a guy who said, ask questions. I liked that, but make sure you ask the right questions. Yeah. Let me think. Because I almost commented and was like, dude, people will give you bad advice at the track.
Yeah.
Like you'll go rip on track and then some dude will come up to you and be like, man, you should do this and this and this. And you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Who are you?
In the full podcast, I explained like, listen, but soak it all in and do what you think is best.
Yeah.
Do put your spin on it. Don't just copy people. Don't just do exactly what someone says, because you never know if it's 100%.
Yeah, man, that's a good question. So it's what is your advice to somebody who is first getting into drifting?
This is every single episode.
But aside from the basic drifting aspect of it, we just covered all the good setup stuff that you can do. It's multi-faceted. I'm going to say two things. Setup is everything. Make sure your alignment's good. Make sure you corner balance your car, because you will fight a car that's off balance. Most of these drift cars are like not 50-50. It's like 47 or 45%. So spring rates, make sure your spring rates are right. Make sure your alignment and your setup's good. Make sure your ride heights are good, and measure your ride height, not from a wheel arch, because that's a moving target. You measure from a subframe point, or like a fixed point. That's how you measure ride height. And you keep track of that. And then make your car look good. Keep it stylish. Take a little extra time. because it doesn't take, like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't take work or Volk wheels or BN Aero or all this crazy stuff. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be that nice, but spend some time cleaning your car. Don't make it look all ratty. Like there's a phase where you have mismatched panels and stuff, but focus on that. Because you won't. If you do want to grow and if you do want to like drive with the pros or progress or get more attention for that is a huge part of the equation. Yeah, because you can go out.
People like to see the progression.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So if you do have a mismatched body panel and it's on the way and people know that because they've seen the consistency you've brought in the past or whatever it is, even better.
Yeah.
Because then you're just going to build hype.
Yeah. Make it look good as possible. And like I said earlier, it's all the journey. We fuck up along the way. We have to take little side tangents and stuff like that. But as long as there's progression in place, I think it's good. And it's not that hard to do. You don't have to have like a cover of Super Street magazine. Like you don't have to be there just yet, but like just make it look good. Get the wheel spacers, get the wheel fitment right, Because again, you will hit a stopping point. You can be the best drifter ever, but if your car looks like shit and you're unprofessional, you will hit a wall. And then you will only unlock that wall when people see that you have authentic parts or you respect the true designs, whatever it may be. Like
drifting takes care of itself.
Yeah, exactly. The drifting will take care of itself. You got to make the car look good.
Yep.
So I don't know if I was supposed to give one piece of advice. I gave like 8, but
no, you're good.
Okay.
100% good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess the sub questions, we already hit most of them.
I know we did.
Because, yourself about the committing tax fraud.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever committed tax fraud? Not lately.
No. Yeah, we ain't got to worry about that one.
Okay.
Tiller was the one that asked about the handbrake snapping. So that was good.
Answered that. Yeah.
And this is what I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Too. So I like to ask people that own businesses that do sponsor people. But Miles T. Johnson asks, what does it take to get sponsored by Chase Base? So the way I would rephrase that is when someone approaches you for said sponsorship, what are some key things that you look for in the proposal or their first initial interaction with you? Like, do you need a relationship first with these people? Like, what do you look for as far as sponsoring someone?
So in this world, on my end of things, there's a lot of lip service. It's all what you're going to do. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And we're going to be so different. And this is going to be different. We're doing this. And when you hear that, my thought is, no, you're not, because everybody's saying that. Yeah. Proof of concept is what you have to have. So people are like, I'm starting to, or I'm going to build a big following. You're not going to get sponsored. You're not going to get partnership. You're not going to get anything. And that's not to be rude or anything, but there's no proof of concept. As a business owner, I'm an investor. I invest into cars to make, design products. Yeah. We design products to make money. That's just the way it is. And sure, I've got a lot of passion and stuff, but we have to pay the bills. We have to show an ROI, like a return on investment. So if you have an Instagram with 500 followers, then you're not going to get sponsored, And they're like, but how? Right. But they're like, how am I supposed to get to the point without this? It's like, well, how did I build a business? I didn't have any loans. I didn't have any investments. I didn't have anything, no parents' money, no nothing. I just built one thing into the other. So using the budget that we built earlier, you do that and then you make the best content possible. You just, because that's what's going to sell it is like the content that you make, because what sells a product for us is proving that it works or proving that it's cool and has high-end design. Yeah. So it looks cool. It solves a problem. It's functional. It works for the 3 or 4 things you're trying to do. And so the reason we sponsor people is because there's a secondary layer to, besides just us saying it, we also have this guy over here saying it, Yeah. And, he can't just say it. He has to be about it. So he has to go, I run these products on my car and I've been driving all year. Yeah. And so if you're a drifter and you're trying to get sponsored by a company, you have to have proof of concept. And so you need to be, if you don't have any money, if you don't have any money, you're probably not going to make it there. You have to find a way to make money, to make your car cooler and to make the good content. You don't have to have a big fancy camera and stuff, but you have to
see this shit.
Yeah. You have to hustle in other ways in your life to make it happen. You have to make sacrifices because if you don't have, like, you don't have to have a giant budget. You don't have to have parents' money. I turned a business into something from nothing. So it's like, you have to do the same thing. It's just little steps along the way. So, I mean, if, I can give people life advice all day on that stuff, but ultimately you have to have proof of concept. So don't send sponsorship proposals with concepts and ideas, because everybody has those.
Yeah.
You have to have proof of concept. Say, I did this video and it didn't get 1 million views, but it did well. And you have to be able to show that you're a salesperson, because a lot of people think that they can just run a sticker on their car and run their products, and that's that. That does not sell products. You have to be a spokesperson.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the, like,
break down why those people would be purchasing.
Right.
So if the good one that I used that Luke Fink brought up on his podcast was Adam LZ and the 350Z. So when Adam got a 350Z, it was, just this bashed up fucking car that he ran a bash bar on. It was very seat time friendly. And that was literally the reason Luke got a 350Z. But so I've found that organic stuff, and just casually, like you said, I've been using this part and it fucking worked for this long, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's, to me, that's an organic way of proving that the product is worthwhile. And that's the wiring specialties thing.
Yeah.
Same thing there.
Yeah.
I've sold them quite a few products by barely even mentioning their name, just because I'm like, I hate wiring. I fucking hate it. I won't do it. I'll spend whatever amount of money on someone else to do the wiring for me. I don't care. Just by saying shit like that.
Most people feel that way.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you said that. And I agree. It's so it's too common in, like, a lot of, higher level drivers, like, thank God for these hand cooked tires. I'd be a worthless piece of shit.
And scroll.
And then the next year they're like, thank God for Falcon.
Yeah.
It's just something else. So organic is the way to go too. So, I mean, you can't go like, oh, luckily I have this chase-based handbrake and I can lock up around turns. It's just like, it's organic. It's like you happen to run it and it happens to work, and you do draw attention to it. You know? So, I mean, I know that was a big rant on it, but, like, I've been doing this a long time. Thousands of people have asked for sponsorships, and that's just, that's the best advice I can do is, like, you kind of just have to do it, prove that you can provide an ROI with creative content, and, like, dude, you even have to do, like, free ads, so to speak. Like, you have to draw attention to products that you paid full price for in order to show a company that you can do the same for them,
Actually, the whole first year of this podcast, I would do, like, random little ad placements, but it was all affiliate stuff, just signing up for affiliate accounts. I don't need approval from any company, just signing up. And then you get a code and you get a certain commission off of it. Most of them didn't work because they didn't resemble the drifting, like, whatsoever. But I did that to the whole year, never reached out to any companies for any type of sponsor. I had a couple companies reach out to me, and that's how some of that worked out. BC, FDF, stuff like that. But I never wanted to reach out to anyone. I wanted to get the podcast going, show that it would catch an audience, which in the first few months, I mean, it had, I think, 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So, and the first TikTok video I ever posted had 400,000 views within a couple hours.
Wow.
So, like, I wanted to prove that this was going to be something that's going to last, for one. It's going to stay consistent. You can visibly see that over the last year. And on top of that, my car's almost done. So I have all of this that I can show, like, look, this is what I've been working on. This is the next step of it. Do you want to be involved? How can I help you while I'm doing all of this? And that seemed to be kind of a good approach for companies, because I have the proof somewhat. I may be new, but I spent the time to, like, really show people that I'm worth the fuck, and you can kind of put some effort into me.
There you go. Dude,
I think that's
a perfect
very
model.
Important for people to know.
Yeah, it's like you didn't put the carriage in front of the horse. It's like it was all properly set up. It's like, here's what I'm capable of because I'm doing it. Yeah. Not like, here's what I'm going to do. It's like, dude, come on. Everybody has the hopes and dreams, but, like, you are doing it.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's the same way as in driving. You did it the same way on your podcast. It's the same way somebody would if they're driving. Go rip, go prove that you're a good driver with something less, and that you're interesting, and that you can put out cool content and cool angles, and that's it. Otherwise, you're not going to get sponsored.
Oh yeah, no. And ad cut-ins are terrible, fucking terrible.
You mean in the middle of a podcast or middle of Of what? Yeah.
That's why I did those in the first year to test them out, just as affiliate stuff.
Yeah.
And dude, they all suck. People just skip right past them. There's no point in them.
Well,
and I tell anyone that I approach, if they are like considering doing a cut-in ad, I'll tell them, like, I'll do it for you. But I promise you, you won't get the ROI that you want out of it. Unless if it's something that I do a little bit more organically.
You do a good job at that.
You'll understand. It does better.
Yeah.
So, all the products that I do talk about organically, I won't even take them on if I don't believe in them myself anyways. If I'm not going to use it myself, what the fuck is the point? I don't have anything good to say.
Dude, that's good, man, because there's so many drifters out there that are like politicians, dude. They're just selling out. Like, no, I won't name names, like, but man, there's some terrible companies. Like, so many people have gone from being really good core drifters that were just cool, and they're like sold out, and they're repping all these brands that are just like come and go as they please, and they don't actually put any effort into R&D. Because I mean, like, product failures is one thing. I mean, I know people hate on like some, like, I've heard bad about everybody, but like Wine Specialties or FDF, like all these companies, it's like, dude, but they're doing something that nobody's done. They're making progress, and I guarantee you, they're not going to deny that something was mispinned or that like a product fault, like whatever.
Fuck no, they won't.
Because the person hating on them certainly isn't going to do it, but they're core people that are building up the industry, so they're awesome. Yeah. But like some of these, it's like not even, it's like merch companies or like a coilover company that's not involved in the industry at all. They're just like, it's like they're trying to make a quick buck or something. It's frustrating.
Yeah. So that's where drifting takes care of itself.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's just, it's a bummer to see. I mean, that's part of it, I guess, but it's just, I wish people had more, like, we're sponsored by Falcon now, and I didn't want, like, there was offers from other companies, but I wanted it to be Falcon because I think Falcon's like the best. And I think they've done more for drifting than any other tire company. And I mean, look at like all the legends of like all the liveries of Falcon over the years.
Legendary as fuck.
Yeah. So I held out for that. And we don't really do sponsors anyways, like only like consumables, like if it's an individual part on one of my cars, it's just not worth it. I can't provide I can't provide an ROI. I don't have the time. But if tires are across the board, wheels are across the board, like, stuff like that. Coilovers.
100%.
So yeah, it sucks seeing people like sell out, it's like it kills their brand. Like you are a brand. If you're a drifter, you are building a brand, and if you take I
tell all my clients that too.
Yeah.
You're the face of it. The whole point is you want someone to attach themselves to you as the face and then buy your products because of that.
Yeah. Because you can't control what people, perceive about you, unless you do something about it. So, I hear stuff about us that's not true all the time. And then I'm like, well, how can we fix that? Like, we have to be intentional about how we're positioned, right? So if we're only running authentic products, and if there's a better product that we use it on our products or on our builds, that's what we're synonymous with. Mm-hmm. So Penske and Öhlins are the best road racing coilovers ever. They run them on Indy, they run them on F1, they run them on NASCAR. Like, they are the best coilovers ever. You have more resolution everywhere, and I mean, you pay for them. This year we're running GLTC sponsored by Penske. Because I want to be synonymous with Penske, Tilton is top tier motorsports, best clutches, best, really good master cylinders, really good pumps and all that. Like, we want to be synonymous with them. We run their products, Wiggins clamps, like we use purple Wiggins clamps everywhere because they're the highest end thing possible. You know what I mean? Like, we want people to understand that Chase Bays wants to be the best. Mm-hmm. We will strive for the best. My expectations are this high. Most people who have bad things to say about, like, former employees have bad things to say about me, or because I expected excellence that they weren't able to get. You know what I mean? And you don't always meet that. You try and you fail sometimes, but at the end of the day, I'll get there, And so, Falcon is like that, et cetera. So people need to that's what I apply to us. If people see our builds, and we have poverty spec builds, we call them, where it's like the Corvette that we just got done. We just need to go test our products. Like, we're not going to do this crazy build just yet. Like, we're still going to run good shit, but it's not going to be the most beautiful thing in the world. It's not going to be like our E36 or any of our like major builds yet. Will be, but like, there's that, all that aside, like, when we want to be associated with top peak tier, like, best brands, because it connects, and so drivers, it's not just about me, but like, drivers need to think the same way. It's hard to do, man. It's it's a really tough thing to do.
Yeah, and it's always evolving and stuff too.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help. But
yeah,
I always try and tell people on the sponsor side of things, like, make your deck, do a video proposal along with it.
yeah,
Just because it may be so simple and small of a detail to add to a proposal, but I guarantee you'll be remembered for it.
That's
Because
right.
nobody else is doing a video proposal, which
we
now people are starting to catch on because I'm saying it. But
I know. Yeah, that's true. We did that. We sponsored Good Life, and we were next to Falcon, so we became friends with them. So that was a good organic way. But
yeah,
and they got to see our builds right there. And we want the same things too. But yeah, it's funny because we have to update them on what's going on. And we do videos. Like, I'll walk around the shop and I'm like, all right, so this is our S2000. Here's where it's at. Here's what we're doing. We're showing proof of concept.
Yep.
We feed them content all the time. But yeah, that's a good idea. That's good input for drivers is introduce yourself, be a person. You know?
Yeah, puts a face with a name.
Yeah, show them
for
your
people
build.
that don't know you.
Yeah, whether it's humble beginnings, like, yeah, I built this really cool car in my shed or whatever, which is that's what you're doing, you know. Yeah. And that's awesome. I mean, that's where everybody starts. It doesn't change though. It's always just as hard.
Oh yeah.
My CRX
That's
I
what
built.
I'm learning.
My CRX, the K series, when I built under like a pop-up tent that I bought at the store.
Yep.
It was like rain or shine, and I was under there. It was hot, and it's just as hard in a big equipped shop now. Like, now we have lifts and lights and air and power and all that. It's just as hard.
Yeah, because you just, as soon as you buy back the time, you just fill it with better stuff.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Fill it with more and more and more.
Yeah.
So, yep, I totally get that. But all right,
is that it?
Yeah, that's pretty much all.
Right.
Do you want to, I guess, plug yourself? Plug anybody else?
Yeah,
family, anything like that?
No, I don't have a family. I'm just kidding. I have a wonderful wife, Jody McMaster, and a wonderful son, Oliver McMaster. And I don't know if they'll make it this far. He's 14 months old, so I don't think he'll listen to this for a while. But yeah, so Chase Bays is on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We're at Chase Bays on all of them. I'm Chase McMaster on everything, at Chase McMaster. That's MCMASTER. And yeah, we're just here for a good time and we're here for a long time too.
Cheers to that.
And if there's ever anybody that needs anything or wants help or, you know, wants Chase Bays to be a part of something, we're here. Always looking out for everybody. We want drifting to grow.
Good.
You know, even if I don't directly profit from it, that's cool. I just want drifting to grow in a good way. That's my plug.
As long as drifting profits.
And my advice is do better.
Always
do better.
Have a better attitude.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, of course, you guys can check out his parts and stuff, chasebays.com, correct?
Yes.
That's the exact.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be on the screen. We'll throw it on the screen.
Chase and Bays, engine bays.
And of course, Enjuku as well. If you ever want to get
they're a dealer of ours.
So, hell yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for making
Honored
the trip up. And of course, if you are still watching, I really appreciate it. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So look below the video, click it, hit the bell notification so you're always updated with every episode. We've got some big things coming. Thanks to Enjuku and you guys as well. So, yeah, that's all I got. See you each Sunday for a new episode. Thanks. Peace.
Trust no bitch, can't catch no feelings. I've been taking long flights from the Bay to Ibiza. 10 home runs, I'm a ball like Jeter. I just want fuck, then I leave. I'm a young pop star, call the boy Justin Bieber. Got a little money if you want, I can teach you. Whole life a movie, you can watch it in theater. Stacking my